do it again once we're live on video so you can introduce to the fans, but just for Cameron's benefit, let's just go ahead and go around. We'll start with you, Ashlyn.
Hi guys, I'm Ashlyn.
Hi. Hi, Ashlyn.
In the chat, I've been Dollar Store DM. Yes, that is how you pronounce that name. It's phonetic now in Zoom for you guys.
We all do the same thing. We all try to be so correct with it, and we're like, I did the same thing. Like, is it Aislinn? Aislinn? John, it's just Ashlyn. Okay, got it. Ashlyn.
I think
Will I respond to any variation? Yes. I've heard probably every variation. Also, yes.
All right, let's go to you, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel, or Kateria in chat and on Discord occasionally. If I'm in the blue box, I think I'm also still Rachel. But I play Mila on Sunday's game of Tears of Band, and it's really fun. And if you haven't checked it out, you totally should, because we have a blast on Sundays, and you should definitely join it. But otherwise, I'm just a college student. I play video games a lot. That's what I'm contributing.
Outstanding. Amanda.
Hi.
Oh.
Hi.
All right. Repeat after me. My name is Manda. Oh. All right, Cameron.
Hi. I'm Cameron. I am also on Sunday's stream, and that's about all I do around these parts. I'm also a student in grad school, having a ball doing that, and just having a good old time.
Outstanding.
We like to have fun out here.
Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg. I cosplay sometimes, and and I play Dungeons and Dragons. I love to act, so I do stage. I've done some film, but nothing special. And I'm just excited to be here.
I'm sure everything you have done is special. I mean, you're so talented. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, because when I was pulling up the different sites today, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to. That's the only way I get to embarrass people tonight. Is just how amazing you are. But I
just roses.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll come back to that. Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, hi, I'm Courtney.
Hi.
I am figuratively speaking minis on Instagram, and I paint a lot of tiny things, and I am a mother, and I'm currently painting my kitchen cabinets, so I'm crazy.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Thrilling.
All right. Well, we just had the raid come in from Jay over there in at Gary Con. So we're going to go ahead and switch over live on video. Everybody good? All right. 3, 2, and 1. All right, welcome everyone to Loremaster's Arcanum 113. Thank you for all of you that rated into us. Hey, Greg, thanks for the sub as well. And man, what a night we have planned tonight. I have been excited. I've been planning this for months. I mean, Manda, when was the first time? It was probably 3 months ago. We started kicking this around on chat, and then I reached out kind of one by one, and this has all come together. So it's been a long time in the making. And we're going to get right into the chat here in just a few moments, but I want to go ahead. I'm going to go back through. I'm going to introduce each of you, but as I do that, I'd like you to also mention sort of any socials or projects that you're working on, and then we're going to jump right into the dialogue tonight. For all of our chatters that have joined us, again, thank you. And we have 2 giveaways I want to mention tonight. We'll be drawing names throughout the evening, and then these ladies will roll for them at the end of the evening. So the first we have...
I don't have my dice.
Come on, you don't come on Blue Box without dice.
You guys aren't just always carrying.
There you go, Meg. So tonight we're giving away this gorgeous Lightning Source reprint of Treasures of Greyhawk. It's got all the maps in there, all the illustrations. This is a fantastic 100 and something page, 170 pages, I think. This is a super cool module. It's designed for levels 7 through 12, if I remember right. And then we're also tonight tonight giving away, this is one of my favorites here, the Extreme Dungeon Manual, Mastery Manual by Tracy and Curtis Hickman. And it's full color. This is hardback. And this was the one that they just produced this last year. And this has got so many fantastic ideas to help you make your games more fun, introduce different elements, really sort of, I want to say advanced, but not in the sense of complicated. Advanced in the sense of ways to really add neat spices and wrinkles to your game. So we're going to give those away tonight, and who knows, we might do a little bit more. So as we get started with the chat, Fraley, thank you so much. He's going to be in charge of modding tonight, and I'm going to go around. I'm going to introduce our amazing panel, and then we'll get started. So let me start. I'm going to go in opposite order this time. So I'll start with Courtney. Courtney of Figuratively Speaking Minis. You all recognize her. She came on a Loremaster's Arcanum here not too long ago. Super talented artist, and I've told this story a few times. I'll tell it once more. I knew that she was a gracious person because I reached out to her 2.5 years ago and in Instagram and said, hey, Courtney, I'd love to have you come on and talk. And she said, sure, John, when? And I ghosted her. I completely missed it. And it was like a 1.5 years later, Amanda was like, hey, you should reach out to Courtney. I'm like, Courtney? Yeah, I think that sounds really familiar. I'm pretty sure I go in there and like the last thing, yeah, sure, John, let me know when. And I completely, so Courtney, that's the last time I'm going to apologize for it on video, but I am sorry. And
it's okay.
but the stuff you've been putting out, I mean, it is sick. The riders and the mice and the birds. And so tell us what's going on in your world right now.
I'm painting my kitchen cabinets. No, actually, but no, you know what? Not too terribly much. I just got a couple projects that I got in the mail. I just started painting him. It's a lot of personal projects. I stopped teaching and taking commissions for the time being. So I'm kind of just cooling my heels and doing some fun things that I want to do.
Outstanding. Great. Thank you, Courtney. All right, let's go to Meg. You know her as Biscotti Hottie. You first saw her here on Blue Box in our St. Jude charity stream back in 2022. And she joined us for a one-shot. She was amazing. And we're just so glad to have you back. Meg, tell us what's going on in your world.
Well, not really anything. I gotta be honest. I currently am taking time to myself and kind of getting my life in order, my mental health.
Love that.
But I am really working on getting back into cosplay because I miss it so much, and mostly just trying to navigate the pandemic with an illness. So I might be auditioning for a musical in a couple weeks. We'll see. So I'm excited.
Well, wow, and that's
really cool.
Yeah, we're excited for you. And I know, Meg, we've talked about this a little bit on stream. Are you okay with me mentioning sort of what you've already disclosed with me in terms of your illness and the project that we've talked about?
Yeah.
All right, so Meg does have CF, cystic fibrosis, and she's very open about that. And the challenges that she faces, of course, things like COVID represent an entirely different level of risk in that example. She is very big in support of the CF Foundation, and we are actually going to be working probably this fall, I'm thinking October-ish, on doing a Blue Box charity stream specifically in support of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And I'm going to try to get as many folks in that can really help us drive a fundraising event and awareness for this. So, Meg, thank you for all of your talent. Your cosplay is incredible. The nuances in your expression, this is what I think sets you apart. Your costumes are fantastic, but just like the slightest twitch of your eyebrow communicates volumes, and you are talented in the extreme. So we're super glad to have you tonight. All right, so next we have Cameron. Cameron, her most amazing attribute is that she actually showed up tonight after what I did to her character on Sunday. So allow me to publicly apologize. No, Cameron is awesome. I'll just tell the story how I got connected with her. So Cameron actually went to college with my eldest daughter, and my daughter, who she had some of those D&D social anxieties. Hello, chat. Thank you very much for all the first-time chatters and everybody that rated us. Hang with us. We will be doing those giveaway drawings throughout the night tonight, and we're going to give you a chance to do some Q&A tonight with these ladies as we talk about the topic, and I'll formally introduce the topic once we go through the intros. But anyway, so my daughter, she was always the socially hidden D&D player. She loved to play. She'd sit around our table at home. She would role play the characters, but nobody was to know. Like, don't post it anywhere. Don't like it. Don't tell my friends. It was her dark, dark secret. So my daughter came home one day years ago from college, and she said, "Dad, you're not going to believe it." I'm like, "What, honey?" She said, "There's this girl in my class, and when we go around and we're asking, like, what do you like to do?" And she says, "I like to play D&D right in front of everybody, like just out there with it." And I said, "I want to meet this girl."
No shame.
Yeah, I know.
I killed it.
You did. And it was like that was I said, I've got to meet this girl, and bam. So she's been on Blue Box several times. Super talented role player, funny, great cosplayer if you've seen her play Dahlia, and wicked smart, good writer. Cameron, it has been my privilege to be your DM for Tears of Aird, and we're so glad to have you on tonight. Other than work and school, anything else going on you want to share?
I'm just out here vibing, keeping it tight, you know?
No. Keeping it smooth. You got to keep it smooth, right? Keep it smooth. Yes. All right. Tonight we have the world premiere of the amazing, unbelievable, stupendous, talented, brilliant, gorgeous, mystical unicorn Manda, who is beloved of the community. She is my right hand, my admin, my mod, and she who must be obeyed. And she is also making her world Twitch debut. Let's give her a round of applause. Let's go, Manda.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
And Manda, we are super proud of you. We are all here in support of you, and I will not put you on the spot at all tonight. So at any point at which you want to, you can speak. If you just want to vibe tonight, you can do that as well. But Manda, thank you for being with us tonight. I'll take it. All right, let's go to you, Rachel. Rachel is actually someone that I got to meet through Thomas, who plays Click in my Tears of Air. Thomas has been with me for a long time and lives here close by. And similarly, from the moment I met Rachel, I was blown away. Like, as a role player, you don't get more immersed. She makes everyone else at the table angry because she wins the voter stream MVP vote every single week.
Time.
I know, it's kind of embarrassing. And I knew I was in trouble as a DM, like in the first 3 or 4 sessions that I DM with these two ladies, and they were playing these 12-year-old children, and they would like turn on the waterworks and the charm, and like every NPC that I was playing crumbled. Like I couldn't keep a straight face with an NPC running with these ladies. Their role play is fantastic. And Rachel, your cosplay of Mila, the Finley thing, it's just all fantastic. And likewise with Cameron, I am honored to be your DM in Tears of Air, and I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you.
All right. And then Ashlyn, you know her as Dollar Store DM. She's been on a couple of times now on our stream. She's going to be back on April 5th with the Budget Build Battle. And she's going to be a regular in Greyhawk Awakening, appearing with us on Tuesday nights at 5 o'clock when we get to Book 3, The Sea of Dark Sun, which is a Dark Sun game based in the world of Greyhawk. Nothing like it has ever been done on Twitch. It is going to be absolutely incredible. She not only role plays, she's a dungeon master extraordinaire. I've seen clips of her DMing, her ability to tell a story, theater of mind, ambiance. She's a tour de force as a DM. But then her cosplay is off the chain, and she also creates these cool settings of encounter terrain and scatter terrain, all from the dollar store. Like she can actually make an F-16 jet fighter from a tube of hot glue. It is absolutely incredible. And so we love having her on every time we can. We're so excited to do the Budget Build Battle. And Ashlyn, thank you for being with us tonight. What's going on in your world?
I'm so excited to be here. I love coming on Blue Box, and I'm really excited for Book 3. As John can attest, I keep sending him things.
You do. I am getting pestered. I love that. So, all right. So with all that said, I'll cover some of the announcements and upcoming streams here in just a few moments. But let's get right to the topic of the night. So this really started, as I mentioned, about 3 months ago, and Ashlyn, you were actually a catalyst for this, because as I was first connecting with you and you were getting ready to come on LMA for the first time, I was on your Instagram and I saw a video that you had posted. You were cosplaying like a barbarian or something. You had an axe, but as you were pointing at the screen,
some things that hang on my wall.
Yeah, you just play like the stuff we all have on our wall, right? But you were pointing at, like, you know, phrases that are popping up behind you, and they were things like you just play D&D to get the guys to like you, and you're not really a gamer, or why don't you act like a girl? And I watched that and I'm like, wow, yeah, okay. So that's, you know, kind of, I know that's a thing, and it made me think about it. So I brought it up lightly on one of my streams as a chat topic, and my stream blew up with all the comments that were coming in the chat of other female gamers that had faced similar things. So that is our topic tonight. It is, we throw dice like a girl, but it is tongue-in-cheek, because we all grew up with that phrase, you know, in our heads, you know, you throw like a girl, which was a pejorative phrase indicating that you did not throw well. And yet it is so interesting, because if you look at it, what is it really but a social maxim? It is not based on some natural hard wiring to be able to throw or not to be able to throw. It is how we have taught, trained, stigmatized, and raised generations of children, and that has affected then, you know, let's say, you know, how often girls got into sports that had throwing versus boys. But there is no reason that a girl can't huck a ball a very, very hard, fast way, snap a mitt, dust coming out of it. Yeah, throw like that girl. Well, similarly, throwing dice, the role play element, we're going to talk about the growth of numbers in gamer girls, and also the impact on the game. But there is so much that goes along with that idea of throwing dice like a girl. So Ashton, because your video was kind of my prompt, I'm going to start with you and just tell us, when you put that video up, what was going through your mind, and what led you to post that? And then I'm gonna give you a second here, Meg, if you're open to talk about this. You had a video, I remember, that you put up, I want to say about a year ago. I don't even know if it's still up, but it was kind of like it was a big middle finger to the social media world for some of the stuff that you were facing. And so I think this is kind of a good way for us to begin with some of the real experiences that you have faced. And so Ashlyn, why don't you kind of start us off tonight, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so the quotes that I actually had going in that video legitimately were ones that I pulled off of other posts from other female creators. Some of them mine. Luckily, I've managed to stay in a corner of the internet sphere that most people leave me alone. It still happens, but usually it's a little less toxic in my little bubble. But I know that I exist in a bubble, and a lot of those, actually every single quote that was popping up on the screen was one that I directly took from someone's post. Someone on the internet said that to a woman.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that. I didn't realize those were actually pulled from posts.
Oh yeah, no, those were taken from people's posts, and from people's experiences and things that they'd told me or that I'd overheard. Things like that. I was a middle school teacher, so I definitely saw it sometimes with my nerdy girls, because I ran a little D&D club. And luckily, I have a lot of faith in the upcoming generation, because most of them were super cool about, like, this is for everybody. But you definitely did have some people who would kind of challenge that idea that no, this is for guys, this is for girls. Luckily, I'm seeing that change, which is really, really nice to see. But yeah, everything on that video was something that's a human being said to another human being about their hobby.
Yeah. So I think there's an interesting, at least in my mind, dividing point between, and we'll talk about tonight, I think you have implicit biases. You know, things that people sometimes aren't even aware they say or do, just, you know, they're conditioned and they blurt it out. Then you have people who are maybe intentional, but intentional in a way that is not really, they're not trying to be hurtful. They think they're being funny or they're showing off, and then you have the people who are just downright cruel, people who are intentionally being hurtful or damaging to someone else. And I think we're going to, to talk about all three of those tonight. But as we start kind of with this higher level stuff, what would be examples of some of the more implicit biases, like just dumb stuff that guys say, or maybe even sometimes other gamer girls say, that you guys have encountered? Anybody?
I think one thing that, as I've been kind of like contemplating this topic and we've been preparing, that I keep thinking about is like, I don't know about y'all, but I did a lot of work to become very comfortable with myself and the hobbies and the things that I love in my life. That was not easily fought. There was a lot of shame from, onlookers, people who were significantly cooler than I was, all that kind of stuff, where I felt like I should just be quiet about anything I was passionate about.
Wow.
And then it wasn't until like college that I was like, I'm going to die being quiet about the things I love the most. How tragic. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. And so then I just, kind of swung the opposite way from that. And so I feel like I get to hold this sort of like 3D object that I've crafted myself. And sometimes when I tell people about that, I'm like, oh, I'm really into like this hobby. Like I'm really into like, nerdier stuff. The response that I get is, that's hot. And it's as though the object gets crushed into a 2D form right before my eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's like wind out of sails. Like, I think it's totally fine to have things that you think are attractive. Totally cool. It's great to share hobbies with people. I think that's beautiful and I think that's awesome. But when I get met with that response, it's as though that person is saying, you have become a commodity to me, and I will consume that information about you. And
Wow.
I want to curl up into a little ball and just like cry.
Yeah.
It's like,
Especially when that's like the first thing that comes out of their mouth.
They don't say anything else. They're just like, oh, you're sexy. Like, it's so infuriating.
Yeah, and it's like when you get upset about or uncomfortable or like, then there's this whole notion of like, oh, well, on top of, being uncomfortable with this, now you are also a bitch. And it's like, there's no win here.
Like we're supposed to just be grateful that they're like only focusing on our looks. When like there's so much,
like,
yeah.
It's like the looks weren't even a part of the hobby thing that I mentioned. Like those are like so unrelated. And so I think that that's been a major frustration. And like, I think at a cross section of another identity of mine of being like a queer woman, that especially happens almost doubly so. Like if I disclose that I'm bisexual, I get that. And it's like, oh, a bisexual nerd? Like, well, what? And it's like, oh no, I've got myself into a conversation I didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, and I got to tell you, like, everything you've said has hit so hard, and I did, like, someone said, preach earlier on, like, I was ready to pass an offering plate, but when you gave that illustration or that metaphor of the 3D image or that 3D object being crushed to 2 dimensions, that hits really, really hard. And so in this situation, you're talking about, you're sharing your passion, your hobby, and when they say that's hot, it's not the connection with the hobby. It's a connection with objectifying you in that context. Now, the fact that you do this, I find that sexually attractive, and you should be flattered that I have said that I find that to be so, as though that's somehow charming. And I don't know how I've upset Courtney so much tonight. She keeps deciding if she wants to be on or not.
It's that it defines now that has value for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's the other side.
It's not value to me anymore. It's how am I valuable to this person?
What were you gonna say, Nancy?
There's the other side to that for painting, where if you put your face out there and you pose with your mini, then you get the comments of you're just doing that to get followers, and then if you don't do it and they know you're female, then why aren't you doing it? You would get more followers if you do it. So it's
Yeah.
Catch 22 on that one.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And
it's
they're
funny
really
'cause-
cool about it.
Yeah, when I started, there was nobody's face in pictures, and that was only like 4 or 5 years ago, just about. And there was a few brave women who were posting with their Warhammer figures in particular, and it was interesting because if you wanted to get more followers at the time, that's what you did. So it started picking up, and then that's kind of I watched it kind of unfold, like the whole gatekeeping, the why are you posting with your minis, and you're like, well, I am a person behind this too, and if you saw me in real life, you would see me holding my figure or playing the game. So would you walk up to me and say, you're hot while I'm playing the game? No, you would not.
I sure hope not.
On my comments, that's not what I'm doing. I'm showing that I'm proud of this figure and I want to be here and I want to engage with you, not on that level.
Right.
But it's like you can't win.
And it's like there shouldn't be anything wrong with wanting to like be next to what you created.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not good at phrasing things well, but like if you want to be like, this is me and this is what I made, kind of like the artist trend where people will post them
Art
like
and artist.
art
Yeah.
versus the artist. Yeah, and it's like it's just fun to like express yourself in that way.
Well, let's put it this way. You go to an art gallery featuring an artist. You walk in, you meet the artist. We don't have art galleries for our miniatures, right?
Right.
The Instagram is our art gallery. And you're meeting the artist with these pictures of us with our figures. Just like pictures of you in your cosplay, just like pictures of you with your terrain. You know, you're meeting the artist. We are proud of our work, and as we should be. It takes a lot of hours, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, saying this is what I look like, this is who I am, and this is what I like to do.
Yeah, the comparison with cosplay is a good one because like nobody would tell me not to be in my cosplay pictures after I put together a cosplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Here's my costume.
yeah,
The mannequin. We don't want to see you.
you know, it would be so much easier if that's how. Like, and people do take pictures of their costumes when they've like actually like made the costumes. I just buy mine, but like I'm still in them for the most part. You know, like cosplayers are in the costumes for the most part. So you wouldn't. It's just stupid to be like, oh, you have to not show yourself. We just want to look at the minis, and then it's yeah.
Well said. Well said. And Fraley, I don't know if you can post any of the questions and kind of pin them for me like Manda does. That's always super helpful when she does it. I know we've had a few in here, but a couple comments I'll read. RPG Pizza. Another terrible thing is in chat rooms or discords where guys make comments or post lascivious pics of women and they do the guy thing, and then when you point it out, you're the one with a problem. I mean, you see that all over the internet and in every sort of chat room and Discord and Twitch and Twitter and everywhere.
On that, I used to stream a lot more often than I do now. I might start again someday, but I used to stream video games. Valorant was one of them, and during one of my games, some of the people in it joined, and I have a Discord for the stream that I have linked in my Twitch. They had joined that and started posting just the lewdest comments possible, all in the Discord, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit later because I want to talk about each of the disciplines. I think they all have unique challenges. I mean, honestly, I think cosplay probably the most difficult because it is the one which is going to be most focused on the individual and the way they look and the costuming. But I think honestly, when it comes to the lack of maturity and I think video gaming, you're getting some like real, like,
Oh my god.
yeah, it's
I
like
think video games are way worse, at least in my experience.
yeah, like most people are playing RPGs probably have some level of creativity or something that some empathy, some soul they're connected to somewhere. Whereas like the fast Twitch video gamers, they maybe not.
The amount of
and I mean,
comments-
like-
oh, so sorry. Go.
No, you go, Rachel. Shoot.
the amount of comments that I have gotten while playing video games from mostly men, some of them have been women, but it's the large majority from men, like saying, go back to the kitchen. Oh, I didn't know they had a computer in the kitchen. And like, it's just the same thing over and over again.
It's just not creative.
Yes.
And
Great job from
like,
2009.
just be creative
That's
about
what I
it.
think now, like as a online content creator, I will literally, if someone tries to insult me, I'll say, can you please, I'll literally give them a list of the things I'm insecure about, because I'm like, I'm like, my dad, I have daddy issues. I was like really terminally ill for a while, so I'm like, maybe there's something there you can work on. And then they just like, but then you do that and they don't know what to say, so they just leave you alone. But I'm like, if you're gonna insult me, don't be like ugly, swear word. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah, like I don't want every word to be an F-bomb, but yeah, you don't have to.
Peppering.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when they're like, oh, you're an ugly bitch, and it's like, okay, I've heard that so many times. I'm sorry, like, if you're, I don't care if I'm ugly, like, so what, and so it's like, also, I don't care about the opinions of a random guy who is upset that I don't want him. I don't know what, but
That I'm existing in a public place.
Whoa,
it's just
what a
my favorite
concept.
thing. Yeah, to just be like, here's all the
Women
things I'm
being.
insecure about. Work with it. Come back with what you got.
Try again.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying, Rachel, like half the reason, I think very early on, John, I can't remember if this is like on the Gen Z Indeed thing or something like that, but we were talking about video games and somebody asked me if I had played Skyrim and I was like, no. And I was like, when I was young, I was so passionate about video games. I would like watch from behind the couch as like my brothers played. But then I like watched around me when any girl or any woman engaged in that hobby, I saw what happened to them. And I learned through modeling that like, I'm too sensitive. Like I can't handle that. And so I never engaged in it. And it wasn't until like, later in life with the invention of the Nintendo Switch, where I could be like, yes, soft games for a sweet baby like me. I can be alone and I don't have to play online and no one can bother me in this space. Exactly, Ashlyn.
Me playing Toontown.
Please be on neopets.com.
I have a really
Oh my gosh.
I have a really funny bar chart I'm going to show you later that is actually going to exactly demonstrate what you're talking about. And Cameron, by the way, you said something earlier. You mentioned these people who are imminently cooler than you. Such creatures do not exist. I want to go through just a couple things in the chat here, if I could, for a moment. So Toriano said, this breaks my heart for what these women have had to go through. So long TMT, I personally hate calling anyone or anything hot. Well, I mean, if you burn yourself on the stove, that's okay, right? But yes, get to know the person, hobbies with respect, not for looks. Powers said, I don't mean to be a condescending grognard, not necessarily the best way to start any comment, but we'll go with it. I'm thrilled that more women feel comfortable enjoying TTPRGs now. There are some statistics on that we'll talk about in a moment as well, but I do feel bad for the experiences that some of these women have had to go through. And then let's see here. Cody, I feel bad for these wonderful people and all they've had to go through. Then let's see here. Thank you very much, Vivi. I'm glad you're loving the episode. And look, you are sort of case in point. You come on here and you role play like a mad woman every Tuesday. You are incredible. We are so lucky to have you in this community, and I'm fortunate to have you on my platform. Say, yes, I like it when people are creative. I also grew up with women gamers in my group, so when people are rude or demeaning to someone, I'm perplexed. So anyway, the problem with the internet is people will state things that they wouldn't say in public. Yeah, the keyboard warriors are always, that happens in all phases and walks of life. All right, so I want to come back to this topic because this is the core topic of the night, but I want to back it up a little bit, and I want to talk about what you like about the game and how you got started in D&D. And so, Rachel, you've been a little bit quiet tonight, so let me go to you. Tell us about how you first, found the game and how you sort of fell in love with the genre of fantasy. We'll talk about video games as well, but specifically D&D.
Oh boy. So, just like most of the nerdy things that I'm into, I saw them with my brothers growing up. We had like 3 guys in the family. It was me and my mom as the only girls. And so I looked up to them. I thought they were really cool. And so anything they were interested in, I was super interested in. That started off with video games, but it's also true for D&D. And Doppler Effect, whom some of you see in Twitch, my brother, his name is Garrett. He's great.
Love you, Garrett.
He's great. He was who got me into D&D to begin with, because he would come home from his adventures and tell me about them, and then I would start looking at the rules online, and then I looked at Roll 20, and I decided after like a year of just like looking and then not actually applying to any games that I'd finally do it, and that's how I met my, I think going on 3 years now, group. We finished our first campaign after 2.5 years. We're on our next one now.
Wow.
It's been a ride. It's been absolutely incredible. And I've been very lucky that the groups that I've been a part of have not been bad or toxic pretty much at all.
Yeah.
There's, I think, one group that I had, and that just kind of fizzled out. But, I love D&D. It's,
Why do you love it? What hooked you?
oh my gosh. I have always been into theater. I was very much a theater kid, and so I grew up on stage doing musicals and plays, and having like a TTRPG where you sit down with your friends and become something else and form connections with those other characters and go through problems into another world that you have never explored or had to deal with before is just, it's great escapism, it's great bonding with your friends, it's awesome, it's very fun, I love it so much.
Awesome. Who else would like to talk about it? We don't have to go around and have everyone answer, but does anyone go ahead, Cameron.
Basically, like, the way I got into D&D was like when I was young, like 5th and 6th grade, I did a ton of like online role play on the website neopets.com. And I'm not kidding you, that got crushed out of me because it was, somebody at school found out, they made fun of me until I was like, okay, never again. Never again. I'll do no writing. I won't do any role play. It's not cool. Fine. And I think in high school that diverted me away from anything theater related, and just like I didn't write for years. And then I was getting ready to like leave college, and I started listening to D&D podcasts. And I remembered laying in my bed listening to the final episode of one, just tears streaming down the side of my face, and I was like, this is different. Like this kind of storytelling, this like method is special. Like there's something here, there's something magical about this, and I gotta get into it. I had a friend that I talked to about that podcast, and they were like, I can DM for you for your birthday. And I was like, yes, please. And so they did that, and it was incredible. Just such an enlightening experience. And then ever since then, I've been, chasing that high of like, I gotta get into more games. And over COVID, got connected to like some friends of just like this random hodgepodge of people who I had never met before from all corners of the US, just getting and abroad. There were like people in Japan that we were playing with, and it was such a unique like storytelling experience. And I got back into writing, and I got back into role playing, and I was like, good luck taking this away from me, because I'm never going to stop.
Never letting go.
Again.
Duck grip.
I love
Cameron that those like Neopets text-based RP channels were like the gateway drug.
Yep. Yeah, they are. No one warns you about that one.
Oh yeah, I was very active in a couple like Warrior Cats ones.
Me too.
Me too.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still doing them. I'm in like a Marvel one. I'm in a
Yes, Meg.
lot of like original worlds. I made
Me too.
Yep.
like D&D campaign that I never actually did into one, and so that's been really fun. I brought like
That's a great
Vistala in
idea.
there,
Yeah.
since her game kind of ended, and so it's so much fun.
So I don't know what all of you heard, but I think what I just heard Meg say is in 2024 she's coming to Blue Box Con to run a game of that with us here. It's
I'm not good at. I'm not good at games. I'm not good at games. I tried.
Yet.
Yeah.
I don't have the intentions. Like, I had like paper spread out everywhere, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
The secret is none of us know what we're doing.
Yep.
You just pretend.
That's true.
The imposter syndrome is real. It hits DMs hard. It does.
But
Oh yeah.
my party was so chaotic, and for like a first-time DM, I was like, what is happening? But it was fun. So who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe I'll be a professional and next year.
There you go. There you go. Well, look, and I will say, like, people ask me all the time, like, how do you become a good DM? And I mean, honestly, one of the best answers is you get good players. If you have a good group of players as a DM, many times it can be you roll the ball out, and now that's oversimplification. You have to create the framework for the storytelling and you have to support it. But really, if you're trying to DM a group of players that aren't engaged or utterly chaos, I don't mean creative and like they should be going left when you want them to go right. That's healthy. But if they're just like they're not even in the same zip code, that's really hard to DM, no matter who you
Or
are.
you just beat it out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have trained my group because I've only played like in person, really only played with one group. It's just our normal friend group. I didn't start as the DM. I took over as the DM very quickly. And it is a group of engineers with one graphic designer and one actor, but it's mostly engineers. I like to tell them constantly that because I ran the D&D group for the middle school. That was usually 12 kids at once. The 12 kids were easier than the 6 drunk adults.
Wow.
I believe it. And yeah, the chat did like your beat it out of them. RPG Pizza said violence solves so many problems.
Why do you think I have a bunch of
Yeah. So anyone else on kind of like what you love about the game?
You get to be someone that you wish you were.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been playing D&D now for a few years. I started, and kind of just to like tag back onto the topic that we were talking about before. When I was 30, I was like to my husband crying, I really like monsters and I don't want to hide anymore.
Oh, bless your heart.
Because you want to just like what you like, and you want, you know, to stop pretending that you're not that person. I don't know. You're like you just want to like what you like, and you want to like it out loud.
Yeah.
And so I started playing D&D, and I loved it because I got to be the character. You like, in my office I have like walls of books of wonderful heroines, and you want to be that heroine, and you imagine yourself as that heroine. And D&D, you get to be that, and there's like live action consequences, and you're making a story, and that's so cool. And I mean, I always play a rogue because of the damage that you can deal.
You're a min-maxer, Courtney.
Things. I like to kill things. And but it's just for me, gosh, it was just such a cool opportunity, because when I started playing, I had a bunch of writer friends, so their storytelling was amazing and so detailed and rich and interesting, and I got to be my heroine, and I thought that was just so cool for me to be like the books. So I was
Absolutely.
like, I just and like I was a theater kid, and I love theater, and I did theater, and and so in real life, when you get to play fantasy, it's the best feeling ever, and really embrace it, because gosh, like we don't have a lot of time, so just be who you are.
I really like the therapeutic side to it, because you never realize how much you're putting into the characters. You know, you can be like, oh, this character is completely different from me, and over time you realize like it is me, but in a like they're my trauma is heightened in them.
Yeah.
So things like my character Viscala, the core root of her character and her trauma is she changed herself for a man, and it was very heightened, right? Because he was a demon and controlled her to become a mass murderer, you know. So I didn't
all
really
been there.
do that.
We've all been there.
Yeah. But,
That's Tuesday.
Yeah.
I know,
but,
man.
like, you start to pick it apart as you play, and you're like, oh, is this something I have not healed yet?
Mhm.
And you can
Yeah.
learn how to heal these things as your character and pick up these traits and have other characters giving you advice that you can use in your own life to heal from the things that maybe you've tucked away.
It's like a case study of emotional intelligence and humanity all rolled into a little ball. I mean, if you want to get as deep as that, if your campaign is more of just like a slap happy whatever, then no big deal. But if you have the capability and like a DM that wants to explore and go there with you, like that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I want
and like,
yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say this happened in our game, and I was rehashing it with Thomas and Rachel outside afterwards. For me, well, one, this is like an area of like passion for me is like D&D tabletop role playing in a therapeutic setting. Like there's a ton of research. It's super cool. It's real. It's legit. It's happening. For me, in Tears of Aird, I didn't come out as bi until like way later in life. Probably about like a year and some change ago now. My character that I was playing, and like you don't really think about this stuff until you're in the moment, and I was playing Dahlia, and there was a slightly older, cooler girl
Jilly.
who was being who was being very nice to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I like? What's going on? Like what am I? And I was like, I got to live something that real life 13-year-old Cameron was too scared to even consider for a minute. And like, that is a beautiful experience that you don't get to have. I can't believe I haven't told you about that yet, John.
Oh, you didn't. I mean, honestly, you really didn't have to tell me. I saw it on you. And do you remember it was the last time you saw her when Jilly looked at you and she winked?
Yeah.
You melted.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like, it was so fun to get to be like, oh, that wasn't really Dahlia. That was just Cameron. And that's like, getting to, you know, like so often in our lives, things don't go according to plan. Sometimes the monsters win and bullshit happens. But in the world of D&D, you get to come back, you get to try again. You get to work at a table with people who want to weave a narrative with you and like lift you up when your character and when you might be down. And like, I don't think there's any other form of storytelling like that. Like maybe there is, and I'm just unaware of it, but until I find out about it, I'll just hang out here. Like, this is great.
Well, darn you, Cameron. I did not expect to get in my feels tonight, and you have done it to me.
John, you're surrounded by a bunch of gorgeous women.
Well, I just...
And also, if you're going to be mean to me in game, I'll make you...
no. Well, that's actually what I... So, look, I mean, newsflash, I'm not a woman. But I grew up with tremendous trauma, like big T trauma. And there was so much of the game for me that was true escapism and healing as a little boy. And and if you look at how I DM now, so many people misunderstand the fact that killer DM or my games are dangerous or my villains are really villainous. But the purpose for me is to give you that tapestry for triumph, because you don't feel like a hero if you overcome nothing, if you overcome something that's easy or simple, if it's given to you, if all I have done is create a world for you to traipse around in and do all that you want whenever you want. It doesn't give you that feeling overcoming. But when the villains are really bad, when the danger feels very real, and then you triumph, that to me is the core of what brings the soul alive in the game and is the therapeutic healing, is the storytelling power. and that's the game I want to play in, and that's the game that I want to try to create for my players. So if I've ever made you really hate me or my NPCs, understand that is always my goal. That is always my vision. And I'm sorry if I've hurt your feelings.
You do a fantastic job at cultivating a setting that makes me really want to strangle the character that you're playing and love what you're doing with it at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and you get to like face danger and fear in a safe way. Of like,
Absolutely.
you are at a table with your friends who love you and like who care for you and want to like tell something and make something amazing with you.
Yeah.
And so like you get to deal with those lowercase t and capital T traumas sometimes in a place where you don't have to leave super activated, where you don't have to go into a therapy office for
Right.
a 50-minute long session all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead, maybe it's 2 years in a campaign where you're coming to terms with some of the stuff that you've maybe put on the back burner for a little bit. Not that I'm speaking from personal experience.
Oh, definitely not.
I really want to play a game with you
We're all
guys.
fine.
I think this group should play a game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would
I would
be
love
so
to see
good.
it.
Yeah.
Love
That
to
would be
see
a lot
it.
of fun.
John, tuck that away.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, John.
We do what? What? I'm sorry. Tuck what? Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, tuck it away. Yes. Got it.
I'm scared to play like a game with John because I am terrified of my characters dying. That's another trauma that we'll unpack.
Oh,
another
it's
day.
terrifying the first time, and then once you've had a few die, the like pain gets a little easier.
I had a character who
I
got
don't know.
sick, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Thank you. I'm good.
Your character got sick? Did you say?
Like could die.
Oh.
I don't know if I really like want to role play a character dying from a disease. That's just me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
About it.
Fair. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I could see that. And even to me, like the character death, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, and I want to kind of pull the topic back on here, but it is to create the environment where triumph feels triumphant, and when the reality of the danger is there, then the triumph is sweeter. But I can certainly see, like with what you mentioned, that would be something that a DM should just avoid at a table. That's just, I think, that's just wise. So.
My death in your game is going to be absolutely glorious.
It will be beautiful.
It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be
If
within the
Nina's
first
still
5
around by
minutes.
then.
And,
Amanda's already planning her death, and the campaign hasn't even started.
You saw my stats?
I did.
That's what she's working with, John.
Well, look,
I'll do my best, Manda.
I already have my next character planned. It's going to be a little gremlin that's just going to come in halfling. Just going to come and eat everything.
I feel like. Oh, sorry. Go.
No, you shoot.
No, because I'm gonna change the topic. Go.
Oh, I was just gonna say of like, there's something so wonderful and like even on the topic of character death of like you get to deal with death, which is one of the toughest things that we as people deal with. Again, in a place that is safe for you to do that. Of like,
Yeah.
I died in a West Marches game and was reincarnated after that game. So my character came back as a fully different race, very, very different. And the character that she was kind of like flirting with a little bit was not there when that happened. And so like my character had to process this feeling of like, what if something bad happens to me and the person that I care about most isn't there? And like, then Cameron is sitting there like, oh. Well, I've got some things to think about. But again, it's this space where like you get to then process it almost immediately with another person or several people around that table if you want to. And if you don't have to. And I, again, just don't know many things that like offer that open door. So like these deeper topics.
And if anyone hasn't figured it out yet, Cameron, would you like to share with everyone what your major is?
I'm a clinical mental health counselor,
Yes.
and have done several research projects on therapy and D&D. Every semester, they're like, "Can you do a give back where you like, thank your classmates?" Every time I do one of those, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do a D&D thing for you. Like that's, we're going to talk about like character alignment, and I'm going to relate it to therapy somehow. And
Yeah,
then it'll be my class. I'm
therapy!
like, every time. Like,
So I'd like you to do help me understand the analysis. What is it that's happening in me that I'm attracting players with specialties in clinical therapy? Like that clearly is something that I'm trying to work out, right?
I don't know, John. I don't know, man. Giving us the playground, you know?
Yeah.
Therapists, teachers.
Yes, that's right. Yes. All right. So
My background is physical and occupational specializing in dementia and mental health.
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Well, and Vivi, she's in the chat. You know, she's an occupational. I'm not a what do you call it? She deals with nursing inside of facilities for the elderly and elder care. You have a lot of that. So I think we're going to segue to that topic in a moment, because Chris Brungal in the chat actually had a question around this, which are sort of the proclivities that you do sometimes see where maybe a more of a move toward clerics and healers oftentimes being played. Is that an expectation that's put on you at times, or is it just more of a natural bent at times, or a little of both? But before we move on, did anyone else want to talk about what you love or what kind of hooked you with the game? I want to make sure everyone has a chance if you want to before we move on. Okay, so then let's switch to this topic, the idea of different play styles. What are your thoughts on? We talked about the types of games earlier. In fact, let me show you guys a chart here. So if you have your Nightbot up, you guys can see it live as the chat sees it. This was done by, I'll pull up the website later. It's Quantity. I looked at them. It looks like their stuff is pretty legit. I'm not advocating for them. I don't know them from Adam's House Cat, but I think what they're doing is pretty clear. And so they did a poll and a study on the percentage of female gamers by genre of video game. And this comes back to your Neopets thing. So like things like Match 3, farm sims, casual puzzles, atmospheric exploration, interactive dramas. These were highest in female gaming engagement, whereas sports games, tactical shooters, first-person shooters, these were the lowest. Now, it's not saying that there weren't women playing them, just that they were the lowest percentage of women playing them. When you saw the way you guys were all kind of lighting up on the Neopets and the other what is your sort of philosophy, or maybe better than philosophy, your experience on the differences between how male and female gamers maybe tend toward these sorts of outlooks on life?
A lot of them are what we're pushed to do.
Right.
So if we just look at just advertising standpoint, I get just daily inundated with farming sim sort of games constantly. It's like every other ad for me. Now granted, I play Stardew Valley. Like I do enjoy it because I grew up playing Harvest Moon, because that was
a great game.
It's an amazing game. But that's what was considered to be, oh, you're a girl, you can play this.
Right.
Versus first time I played Halo was in college, and still it was like, Ashlyn's gonna play Halo with us.
Halo rocked.
With all guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't good at it because I never grew up playing first-person shooter. I'm the person who runs this way while the camera's going that way. I will fully admit that I'm not good at them because I never grew up playing them.
I played
what was accepted.
I played multiplayer Halo with my wife. It was one of the most threatening things to our marriage that has ever happened.
I would pay money to see.
We would get in the Warthog. You know, I'd be in the Warthog. She'd be in the back with the gun. Next thing I know, she's outside throwing the grenade at me. I'm like, "What are you doing?" It was no lie. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
We need this to happen at Blue Box Con.
I'd pay money to see it.
No, it was the struggle was real. Other thoughts on this topic? Sort of how much if it is really just, again, the social maxims, how much of it is nature versus nurture and all of those. I'm not trying to answer or solve these questions tonight. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I love first-person shooters. Me too. I love them, and I was never good at them until I just started playing with my husband. So me and my husband like to play a lot, but I will never play online. I'll never play online. And I think we all know the reason why is because it's incredibly toxic. It's very difficult to join teams with other men and have them be like not insulting
Right.
and supportive. But like I've played Halo. I got pretty good at it. I play a lot of Borderlands and different things like that. I also play, you know, Stardew Valley and Breath of the Wild and all that kind of stuff. I play a lot of video games. But I think advertisements is another thing, because I'm a female account owner. I get a lot of those advertisements for the cozy games all the time, and I'm like, yeah, they're great, but what else is there? Like,
Right.
there's not a lot of advertisement towards my demographic, and I think there's just the online communities are incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
They
What
are.
I found super interesting in that graph, and this is where Ashlyn as a STEM major comes out.
Here, I'll pull it back up for you.
The two MMOs, MMO high fantasy is a way higher number than MMO sci-fi,
Right.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
tells you a lot about the difference between like fantasy, which is why there's so many more women joining into D&D. It lets us be the person that we were told we couldn't be.
I think that's well said. And I'm going to pull up the article here. So this is kind of an article they wrote along with it, Beyond 50/50, breaking down the percentage of female gamers by genre. And they had some really interesting takeaways in this. A couple of the things were, so they actually show how they ranked it here. So this shows you action adventure games were Uncharted, Infamous, Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, Rise of Tomb Raider. Your action RPGs were Diablo 3, Dark Souls 3, Torchlight series. So they kind of show you the games that they put by category. And you had... one of the things they note is that you had a massive swing, or what they call a 35x swing, between the very bottom-most tier at 2% and the topmost tier at 70% of the gamers being female. And then it does get you into that sort of chicken and egg, how much of it is because that's what they're marketing to. And then also, marketing companies are notorious for one thing. They're all after money. They're very few of them are driven by ideology, right? So they're going to push their marketing dollars where they think they're going to get a return on that with the money. So I think it's a cycle that gets created. But then if you look at this, so Match 3 and Family Farm Sims were the most likely to be female. The next highest genre was 27 points lower. Tactical shooters and sports games were the least likely. But I think what's interesting is World of Warcraft was an outlier among fantasy. So 23% of World of Warcraft gamers were women, but that's substantially lower than the average of 36% for the genre. I think that goes to exactly what you're talking about, because the WoW, the little bit that I've played with it, very toxic, very open communication platform, probably dry, I'm guessing. I know a lot of women play WoW. My daughter plays WoW. But I'm guessing that's probably one of the reasons it drives more women away. Am I onto something there, or is it something else?
No, it's absolutely that.
Yeah. That's why I'm not
played
there.
WoW. Yeah.
I
I've
played
played WoW for years.
RuneScape.
I'm sorry, what's that? I missed something. What was that?
Oh, that's why I played RuneScape.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
And then, interestingly, Star Wars Old Republic was skewing that genre high. It had double the sci-fi MMO genre of most female gamers. So the genre average was 16, but Star Wars Old Republic was 29%. That's interesting.
Star Wars is really fun.
Yeah.
Star Wars drives more female representation.
Exactly, right? So if you watch the movie, like, I think they've done a better job of making that a very inclusive.
And I mean, the best Star Wars character is female, in my opinion, because it's Ahsoka Tano.
Them's fighting words, Ashlyn.
It is. I stand by it.
The 8-year-old boy at me that saw the original Star Wars in the theater. Yes,
Yes.
I remember it.
It was written for your age.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Let's go. But Assassin's Creed and Dragon Age were also outliers.
Okay.
Love Assassin's
I'm a Dragon Age. Like, that's the only game I play is Dragon Age,
Okay.
especially Inquisition, because for me, I don't like games that don't have a story.
Yes.
I cannot, and I think that for women who don't like first-person shooters, I think that's a big thing. Is like for me, it's the same with like when I read books that don't have romance, it's like I can't focus on it. I don't know what in my brain is just like, and so
Why aren't they kissing?
Yeah, and so literally, but
That's me playing D&D.
no, yeah, we need to play another game. But anyways, so I also feel like, kind of circling back to men playing first-person shooter games, I think a lot of it is, and this is not pointing fingers at anybody because everyone has been raised in the same society.
Sure.
And it's nobody's fault how we were raised. It's only our responsibility to work on what we need to work on. But I think because first-person shooters generally are more aggressive and more, especially with men yelling obscenities at each other and at other people, I think it's an outlet for men to have feelings that they've never been taught how to deal with. And that's not healthy, but it's also not entirely on them, right? And it's, I think, everybody's duty in a society to make sure that everyone has the tools they need to emotionally thrive. And unfortunately, and this is me kind of talking smack on my brothers, because they also, like, my brother across the hall is constantly screaming at his games, and it's like, it makes me hurt because I want men to be able to have other outlets to express themselves aside from just visceral hate. Even if it's not hate, like real hate, it's still, it can't be easy even for men to be in an environment like that. You know, they'll always say,
100%.
oh, it's a joke, but you know it's affecting them because they're still doing it. And I just wish that, you know, that's why I stay away from any kind of online games. Is I like to be in my bubble, like I think Cameron said, and just not have to worry about being targeted just for playing a game, because that's all it is. It's just a game, you know.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at like early childhood development, the sort of play that women are encouraged to, or young girls are encouraged to enjoy, is empathy-based play. It's building empathy skills, building communication skills. The sort of play that young boys are encouraged to, stereotypically, this is it, and it's changing, is a bit more aggressive, is more about winning. It's more about control and progression, building, destroying, that sort of thing. Versus women are encouraged more to, especially in that very early developmental time when your brain is super spongy, to do empathy play. Playing with dolls, playing with stuffed animals, playing pretend.
Yeah.
And D&D is the ultimate playing pretend. D&D builds so much empathy. It's why it's really good to play D&D with special needs children. Because they can often, by playing someone else, they can learn the empathy skills they struggle with as themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, especially right now, with 5e being so RP focused and so much away from here's the numbers and the math and the stereotypical like masculinity that math carries, having more of it's about the story, it's about being this character, makes it a lot more appealing to the women who grew up with empathy play, with coming up with stories and telling these stories usually by themselves in their room. I lucked out in I'm the oldest of three. I am the only girl, but I definitely made my little brothers play dolls with me. I'm 9 years older than the youngest. Like, he didn't have a choice. But
He had
both
to.
of them
Had to.
got into D&D in high school.
Oh.
Both of them still play.
Well, I think But just a sort of a male perspective on the topic, because now we have shifted to we're sort of talking about men now and sort of their influences. I thought, Meg, you said made some very good points about outlets and communication, how you deal with emotions. And I think this is a very complex subject because what has been called bone and blood, or nature nurture, and how much of each. And I think it is a cocktail. There is no doubt that there are societal influences. And, you are taught I grew up in this society as a boy, everything is competition. I grew up in very aggressive, low-income neighborhoods, had to fight and fend for myself from a very early age. And you learn as a boy, if you don't do that, you're going to be victimized, right? You have to learn to do that. So there's definitely that nurture part of it. But then there is also when you're 13 and your body gets flooded with testosterone, and you look at, I'm not comparing us to, look at a silverback gorilla or a whatever mammalian, I don't care what your worldview is.
Oh, hormones are a bitch.
Yeah, there's an aggression that comes with that cocktail that injects. And so I think that doesn't remove responsibility. It actually increases responsibility. It increases the importance that we teach proper channeling of these emotions, that we teach proper coping mechanisms and societal interaction mechanisms for young men. And I think that's part of what has always appealed to me about the game as well. If I got to go smash something, I'm going to smash an orc in the face, not another human being.
Yeah, that's why I really loved playing it with 13-year-olds, with my middle schoolers, because I had some troubled kids who would play in my D&D game, and this is how they kept from getting in trouble. This is how they learned, usually the boys, because they were going through all those changes and having all those hormones, and everything was going wrong, because everything bad that happens is the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Yeah.
And then all the adults telling them to just brush it off, get in
so
and
true.
be someone else.
Yeah.
So
And
true.
It's also a good outlet to be imperfect. When you play D&D, especially as a woman, but also as a man, or non-binary, or trans, or whatever, you don't have to be, or you don't have to ascribe to the traits that you have been assigned solely based on your body. If you want to be a little mischievous, if you want to make mistakes, purposeful mistakes, and cause chaos, as long as you have a party that you all trust each other and are aware of these things, you can do that. Like Grog in Critical Role, obviously, he is constantly, Travis is knowingly making these choices that it's going to get the party in trouble.
Absolutely.
But things that you couldn't get away with and still maybe have friends in real life. But in a game, you can explore different facets of your personality without any really harmful repercussions.
Well, and to all of that, of I think we talked a little bit about men and the feelings that they have of that anger, channeling it through games. I was kind of talking about this when we started the stream, but I would have described myself as I never get angry, until maybe my mid-20s, which I'm in my late 20s now. This is a new emotion for me that I've opened myself up to. There's nothing wrong with anger. It's one of the many emotions. It can be good, actually. And, the opposite of sadness, despair can also be good and beautiful. And I think it's been really special for me in the world of Dungeons and Dragons to be oh, I can just kind of dance around in this emotion that I typically am pretty uncomfortable with in a space that is, low stakes, low to no stakes, especially when you're with friends at a table. But it's oh, I can get mad and punch something very hard, and that is okay here. That is in character.
Yes.
Or I can, go a little bit further with my anger than I would. I'm a pretty well-adjusted person. If somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm not gonna go slash all their tires. But maybe my D&D character would do something equivalent to that.
That's a hint, John. That's a hint.
It's all coming my way. I know. Camera, hold out. I'm sorry, Ruku, I want to hold that because I want to read a couple things in the chat, and then we'll come right back to this. So, Apocalyppo said, I talked to my therapist about D&D and how it helps me at my job as a designer by creating scenarios. I empathize with characters and storytelling. Absolutely. Moose and responding to me. Okay, yeah, I guess that's right, Jeff. Let's see. Nerdy stuff is kind of cool. Where would one start so a person can get into it? Hey, that's a great question. There's stuff all over the place, but if you jump into our Discord, which there's a link right down there, that Discord, if you want a safe community, I mean, I want to shout out the Mad Chatters tonight. You know, we've had around 70 people that have been watching the whole time. There has not been one message we've had to mod tonight that I've seen. There's not been one thing that's been in this chat that I could not read out loud on stream. I am very, very grateful and proud of all the Mad Chatters. But if you jump into our Discord and just say, hey, there was somebody else earlier that was asking about jumping in a game, there are all kinds of places out there. But if you get into our Discord, there are other people that are looking for games, and we'll hook you up with people that will create safe, fun, not safe for your character, but safe for you, fun, engaging games. All right, so I'm sorry, back to, go ahead.
I was going to say off of what you just said, John, look for your offshoot ramps. If there's something you're already passionate about, there's a nerdy alternative. If you like podcasts, guess what? There's D&D podcasts. If you like reading, guess what? There's so much great fiction right around the corner for you. If you like video games, there's going to be offshoots there. And if you're just looking for general suggestions, also still go to the Discord. All of it's gonna be great.
Join us on Fridays for CNC.
There you go. Yeah. So that's going to be that'll be a good place for us to set up. We're going to have one quick break, give like 3 minutes for anyone that needs to grab water, use the restroom. It'll be a very short one. But let's talk about what we have upcoming. So first of all, next week, on Loremaster's Arcanum, we're going to be joined by Don, the Mad Wizard, creator of Tales Tavern, super good guy. And then John, Demon Gund, who's with us on Tuesday nights for Greyhawk Awakening. And we're going to be talking about Talespire, but specifically the topic is Talespire in seconds, showing new DMs. Look, you look at, I mean, you can't see too much with the cameras here, but I've got this super cool thing I wish I had when I was a kid, right? And so now I've got all the minis and the terrain, and I've got the castles and but this stuff is expensive. It takes time. You got to have space for it. And I love the physical stuff. That's why I think what Ashlyn does is so cool, because she shows you how to make this stuff affordably, right? But if you want, for $25, you can have a lifetime license of Talespire. And no, I don't get any money from them. I don't it's a lifetime, it's forever. And everything is free. And all there's a community that Don has created called Tales Tavern. You go there and you say, I want a snow-capped mountaintop with a tavern. In seconds, you're going to find it, and you can literally, within 5 seconds, have that up and ready to show your players. And I play with it in game. So I've got a monitor here. Rachel and Cameron know. I've got a monitor over my head that when the players are at my table, I'm using Talespire in the room, and they're seeing the same. It's like a VTT, but you can do it so easily. As a DM, if you want to augment your game, your theater of mind, with something that doesn't cost you potentially thousands of dollars or require a ton of space, a VTT like this is really a cheap, easy way to go, and it creates beautiful visuals, and we'll show you how to do that next week. And then coming up right behind that, we have this gal again, Ashlyn, doing our budget build battle on Loremaster's Arcanum. That'll be volume number, no, we're 113 tonight, so it would be 115. I think I'm using the wrong flyer. But you're supposed to bring a cork, thin cardboard, like cereal box cardboard, toothpicks, paper, and then anything you want to add your own twist, because we're going to build this together. We're going to build a tavern. And we're going to do this live on Twitch. So we'll have a show like this, but we'll also pipe in Discord audio so people that are watching can talk with Ashlyn and I as they're building. And then that same video ninja that you guys are using now, I'm going to make links available so that anyone who's building at home, if they want to, they can send me their link, and I'll be able to bring up what they're building at home live on stream. So it'll be a really fun, interactive way for us to build together cool terrain. And then at the end, Ashley and I are going to go through, and we're going to pick maybe top 3 or whatever, and we'll do some giveaways for the winners of who creates that stuff. So mark your calendar, some really, really fun Loremaster Arcanum shows coming up. Then, of course, we have our Sunday game for Tears of Aird. That starts at 1 o'clock. Rachel and Cameron play Mila and Dahlia. And I have a feeling last week's title was Dice and Retribution, but I think the Retribution is coming back this way very soon. And
I want my dagger back.
yes, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a blast. That's a 3-hour stream. It's still very early in that game, so if you're looking for a new game that you want to get connected to the stories and the players at the beginning of the story, this is a great chance for you to do that. And then Greyhawk Awakening, oh my goodness, book 3. This is now, we're in year 3 of this game, but the same thing is true because of the way we break these books up. Book 3 is a brand new story, even though it's part of the larger story that is with a whole host of new players. And so for book 3, I'm going to play this trailer real quick. And as we go to break, you guys can mark down your date on the calendar for May 2nd. Let me find my video here. And I had this up earlier and I was showing my son something different and I put it away. 1 second. There it is.
Things happen.
Got it. All right. Pull that up. Wrong screen. Hang on. You guys can't see that one. There we go.
Music.
This is when this is all custom artwork and custom music from Joffrey of Dice Songs.
Thank you, Dice Songs.
He is awesome, member of our community and a supporter, so you can see this here. And as we get ready to go to break, mark your calendar for May 2nd. And if you guys can stay, right when I go to break, stay for just a moment. I'm going to play the new LMA intro video. If you haven't seen it yet, it is sick.
So cool.
It is sick.
So beautiful.
It is really good.
May 2nd, Greyhawk Awakening, Book 3.
I cannot wait.
I'm so
I'm gonna
excited.
freak out.
Blue Box will be right back, and I'm going to kick off the LMA video here, and we'll be back in 3 minutes. Mics will stay hot during the break.
So hot you wouldn't even believe.
Yeah, not that kind of hot, Cam. No, that's not what I meant.
Well,
No.
Well, too late.
Too late.
Done.
Let's whisper.
We're already here. What do you want? Exactly.
Thank you, Toriano. Welcome, all you new Mad Chatters. Thank you for all the follows. We appreciate that. That's one of the OG Dragon Mag and Monster Manual images. That's custom artwork by Hob. That is from a Loremaster Arcanum I did with Tim on Hardcore Combat. More custom artwork by Hob. That was a nasty creature, the Sentinel. That's the original Dungeon Master's Guide cover.
Aw.
The cartographic stylings of Anna B. Meyer.
Thank you.
She's incredible.
The Overgord by Mike Disney. Hey, Jay. Anna B. Myers. Zombie Goat.
Oh, so
More classic Warfare and Combat. Bill the Master Crafter's gorgeous terrain he created for the jousts and the gladiatorial combats of Altamira. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Pass. And that is your lore, Masserica. And the logo, yes. So just 2 more minutes. We'll be right back. I'm going to grab some water.
Rachel, I just noticed Finley.
Yes, he's been
Aw.
in my hoodie this whole time.
I love it. Oh, I love him so
love
much.
Boy.
I can't leave him behind.
I love him so much. He was
I
so much fun
worry
today.
about this rat. I worry about him every day.
Oh, I know.
It's
Yeah.
totally fine. It's not like my life is dependent on his and his life is dependent on mine or anything.
No, not at all. Not at all codependent with a rat.
No, never.
Mila, never.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. Dependent with the rat.
Also, when we started this, I was trying to find a way of how can I say that I role-played Warrior Cats without saying that I role-played Warrior Cats?
I have no
And then
shame.
Did it for you.
to have two people
Okay.
like understand me in such
I
an
have-
immediate like
Yeah.
visceral way. I'm
Like,
like,
if you ever need
yes.
any servers, let me know.
I want you to know I had a full journal, like a physical journal that I wrote down my own OC warrior cats and drew pictures in the back of them and colored them. I
Me and my
was like,
friends, we all had our own names. I was always Goldbert. It was my first email.
oh my
I love you guys so much. Oh my gosh.
I had that, or I had Flockster because I was super into Maximum Ride too.
Yes. We love finding out girlhood niche interests. There is a Venn diagram in most circles of just warrior cats, and then there's like 15 others shooting out
Okay, but
at
I have
every
a question.
possible geometry.
I have
Yeah.
a question. Has anyone played Monster Hunter?
Wait.
I've
And you
seen
get to
many
make your
videos
own
of it.
cat?
Yes,
Right?
I am.
The cat.
That's-
Oh my god.
That's what makes me want to play it, but I'm like, play
The-
effort.
How hard those books went and how like dark
Oh
they
my
got
gosh.
for being
Yep.
children's books. Like there are cats just
Yep.
getting their like throats ripped out.
You know they're still going, right?
Hey, all great children's books are like that. I mean, don't you remember that as a kid? Those were the ones you wanted to read.
They're
What do you
still
think?
going.
It was like
What do you
Game of
think
Thrones.
Yeah, they were vicious.
What do you think inspired my Blue Box Con game?
I'm so excited for your game.
Oh no, now I'm scared.
You should be.
Oh, Mando, we absolutely should be terrified.
Oh, I mean,
The dread system is not to be taken lightly.
Someone will die in the dread system. It's
Yes.
not a matter of if, it is when.
Who, truly.
Wait, you're playing it Dread like with the Jenga Tower Dread?
yeah.
Yes.
I love Dread so much. I got a
game is
little
called-
mini Jenga Tower to
Oh,
bring
cool.
on camping trips so that we can play.
That's so good.
That's so good.
for camping. That's amazing.
That is so cool. Great ideas. Mini
I'm-
Jenga kit. I'm a
I
They
am
have
not
them
going
at the Dollar
to
Tree.
Oh no.
Are you guys done? I was going to wait.
Sorry, I was getting
No.
distracted with
Track.
chat.
Yeah, but-
Get us on track.
No, it was awesome. No, so to kind of bring our conversation back around, I do want to go dive back into some of the core topics, and then I want to finish, as I mentioned, on vision for the future, ways that we can educate, ways that we can tell stories, ideas for how we can continue to improve the narratives. But I thought coming back to it, you should be able to see this up on your Ninja. I'll make it visible to all the chatters now. This was another chart that they had, which showed motivations, and they polled male and female gamers, and these were the things which they rated as most important. So you can see they put 50% as the baseline. So that's the kind of your middle line there. And where you see the greatest degree of motivational difference per what we talked about for men, 76% rated competition as their highest. Now, note, women are still highly competitive, 63%. It's not like that number wasn't there, right? But comparatively speaking, that's the highest ratio for men at 76%, along with challenge. I think that's exactly the words that you ladies were using earlier, sort of the competition, the challenge. This is the way we're, either, again, nature, nurture, or both. It's what is.
I want
Sorry,
to
go.
note that we didn't see these numbers beforehand.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I didn't show them any of this. I didn't show them any of this beforehand. This is all just some research that I pulled up. So, and what this also taught me is if you look at the right, fantasy, story, discovery, design, all by far the most female identified categories. What this told me is I am very in touch with my feminine side, because this is all like when I play video games, I don't play first person shooters. When I get into I've done like Call of Duty and crap like that, I get bored and frustrated because there are still 16-year-old kids running around with stupid fast Twitch capability going elite noob, and I'm like, no, I don't want to spend the 4,700 hours it's going to take me to get good at this game. So I go to the Skyrims and the Dragon Ages, and I don't even mind. I'll turn it to like story mode or like easy or whatever. I don't really care. Like, I do want to mash a few buttons. I want to kill something and win, but I'm really in it for the story. I'm in it for the storytelling narrative and the discovery and the puzzles and the lore. I actually read the lore and the books, and that's what I like. And apparently I'm on the wrong end of this spectrum.
I find it really interesting that completion is feminine.
Yeah.
Me too. I was looking at that.
If I look at my
Completion
Breath of the
versus
Wild
competition.
save file, it checks out.
Yeah.
Also,
That one
thought
checks
that
out.
it was, yeah.
Interesting
I'd
of
also-
you bringing that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You were going.
Um, I found it interesting that you brought that up, John, that you're on the opposite side, because I also find myself on the opposite side as well, because I grew up playing CSGO and League of Legends, and later down the line Valorant, and those like Rainbow Six Siege, the FPS shooters, the competitive nature is what I really liked about it, but also the kind of teamwork aspect of shooters, because you have to work with your team in order to succeed in a team-based team game. Even though some of the people that are on your team are not the best sometimes. Not even in playstyle, but just in morals and personality.
Well said. And the chat is blowing up with people telling me I've not lost my guy card. That's good to know. Although I'm getting... yeah.
Not
I would
real.
say that
Yeah,
it's
Meg.
not feminine to or masculine to like one thing or another. I think it's very harmful for everybody to say, oh, to be more sensitive to this and this is feminine, and to be more outgoing and competitive is more masculine. We're all a mix of all of these different parts, and some have it more and some have it less. It doesn't make you any more of a man, any less of a man, any more of a woman, any less of a woman. Everything in between.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm being a little bit of tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
but yes, I couldn't agree more. Although I do see ageism in my chat. Fraley said my reflexes are not what they used to be for FPS. Thanks a lot, Patrick. I resemble that remark. So
John, mine
somebody-
aren't either, and I'm unfair.
yeah.
Somebody asked a really good question. I think it was Dark Elf Twilight. Is that right?
No, if it was a good question, it couldn't have been Dark Elf. No.
No. Hey, see, nice. It was
Nice.
what's something unique you think women bring to D&D? Which I think is a great question.
It's actually one of my questions.
Is it one of your questions, John?
I love it. Let's go to it. So that was kind of, well, let's go to it now. I was going to save that for the end, but let's talk about that. Like, what is it that you think the female perspective, if you will, brings to the game table?
I think just having every perspective is good at a gaming table. Like, if you have a gaming group that everybody has the exact same perspective, it is a bland story. You're not going to have a rich cast of characters because everyone's going to have that at least majority shared experience. Now, we can talk intersectionality where everybody's background and everybody's different aspects of themselves is going to make a different character. But when you invite people who are different from you to a table, you get really rich stories because you're now interacting with their background and with their experiences.
That's right.
I cannot agree with that more. Like, for example, the Tears of Air, Jenny's character, Daisy Bell, has like the complete opposite view as Mila, and the conflict that is able to occur because of that is so entertaining and fun to play out with
Delicious.
friends as well.
Yeah.
Well said. Others?
I
But
feel like
I agree.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, a lot of a role that I typically play in a lot of, be it friendships or gaming tables or whatever, is, again, I have killed all the shame in my life. It doesn't exist anymore. And so, like, to get emotive, to get emotional is really easy for me. And like, if I'm the first person to take that step, I'm happy to do it. And so it's like, I love getting to usher that into a space in games, and I feel like a lot of women on the whole do that. Of like this really, I don't know, this elegant invitation of like, come what may, let's go into a deeper space. Instead of this being like up here in terms of like emotional content, let's get deep of like, you just watched your in-game best friend die. You're level 1. What do you do now? Like, how are you, like, yeah, of course you're gonna heal them, sure, but like, what are you gonna do tomorrow? What are you gonna do the next day? Like, I think oftentimes I see a lot of women gamers be so like thoughtful in that with no prompting of like, you know, there's almost never that DM reminder of like, hey, so like, how are you feeling in terms of like what happened yesterday? It's like, I'll tell you what happened yesterday, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now. Like, I think that women gamers often do a great job of like just kind of entering that space, and I think that's pretty cool.
And I think women as DMs too, obviously they're gamers as well, but like we've heard a million stories from men, and that's great, and it's good to have those perspectives, but it's really nice to have stories told by women and see how their worldview has shaped the world they've created and the encounters that they come up with. Because I think the inclusivity is really important, because like we were saying, it can get very monotonous if it's always the same thing all the time. It's kind of like how there'll be a movie genre trend and we just keep seeing the same things, and that doesn't mean that they're not good movies or that they don't need to be made, but just that when things are kind of broken up a bit more, you're able to experience everything to the fullest effect.
Yeah, that's well said. That's really, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say an example of that is like, I think a Brienne Guard doing A Court of Fey and Flowers, which is like Regency era, high drama, D&D 5e, but like heavy on the romance, heavy on the romance. And like, I think this unique perspective comes out where I'm like waiting at the end of every episode, like transfixed by the drama of it and like coming back for more and more. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever felt like this same way in the same system. Like, and it was like, I don't think it could have come out of anywhere else except her mind. And I'm like, I love that. Like, I think you nailed it, Meg. You got it right on the money.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
That's something I try and do with my because mine are all boys, but I am the DM, and they are very much like, if there was a guy running the game, and we now have a male DM is alternating with me. He's doing an amazing job. But I guarantee there's going to be a lot less. Like, I have romanced almost every single one of my players.
Sometimes
it's very much, I'm going to make you feel things. And you're going to feel things at my table. And they had to learn to be okay with that, and to embrace that a little bit. And for some of them, that was kind of hard.
So
it's always done with consent, and it's always
sure.
Yeah.
So let's if we could, I'd like to dive into that a little bit. And I want to back up and just address two comments that were made. One, I agree completely and want to reinforce the perspective that diversity at the table enhances the game. I've seen the same thing, as you all know. I'm in the business world, and running a company, if you have homogeny of thought, if you have an echo chamber of perspectives, that company will not thrive. And when I talk about diversity, I'm talking about all kinds of diversity. This includes not only the classic categories, but socioeconomic diversity, other sorts of cultural, anything which gives you a different way of looking at life than me. That's what makes a great team and a great group, that diversity of thought. Now, candidly, if if a bunch of ladies decide they want to have a women only game, and they don't, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we as a society, I think we benefit when we have this more of a sort of a plurality of thought. Specifically, though, to this question on the celebration of the perspectives of women and what they bring to the game uniquely versus other, disparate diversity categories, which all bring something. I think what you guys have identified really is something that is a real strength that women bring to the table. On the subject of romance, I really would love to see more romance in my D&D games run appropriately, and I do want to give my players license.
Just you wait, John.
But
Check with all of your players.
You don't gotta tell me twice. It's already happening.
Sure.
but this is
Here.
but this is like, okay, now like put yourself, think about the topic of our conversation tonight, and as a male DM, and I'm like the poster child for 6'3" white male with blue eye, right? Like just you stick me up, and yeah, I mean I'm that guy in terms of the outward appearance. And then so if I'm doing anything in game which is advancing maybe a romantic storyline with a female player at a table with one of my NPCs, and to me it's the game, but how does that, obviously it's with, what would your recommendations be to a DM that wants to do that tastefully for the sake of the story, not salaciously, but for the sake of the story?
Fade to black.
Yeah, I've done the that's the end game, right? At the fade to black part, right? But
my big thing, because I had a player who did tell me, because I didn't know that he wouldn't be comfortable. I just flirted in character with his character as the DM, and he kind of played it off. He's playing a low charisma character anyway, so it worked in the game. But he let me know later. He's like, "Hey, that's not something I'm comfortable with," and then it's just cool. You have the conversation. And you have a kind of, if you're playing online, it's a really good, you just go in the chat, whether you're the person who is uncomfortable or the person who is running it, or is initiating, you have that running chat and you have that open dialogue of, hey, I'm not comfortable. And as soon as that is said, there's the expectation of it backs off immediately. And once you have that trust already established, you can get into some really deep storylines. I played in a campaign where my character and another character had this really deep connection and romance going. It ended up in the death of my character as a pawn because I was the romantic interest for basically the main character. So that worked out well. But we constantly were checking in and saying hey, are you comfortable?
Yes.
And that is how you do it right, is you
Absolutely.
are constantly checking hey, what are your boundaries? And you do that before you start. It's a great thing to do in a session 0, and you can put it in with a giant, in your session 0 document where you're asking for what's your mom's name. Just also include what are your boundaries. This can be general fears, we don't mention certain things around Manda. But it also could be hey, I'm not comfortable with romance, or I enjoy that, or certain triggers, things like that. Those are things that are part of the conversation from the beginning. And once they're already covered, and if there's the expectation that they are going to be respected, it opens up this huge playing field of stories and character growth that you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could also test the waters with NPCs though too, right? You could have NPC relationships evolve, or you could have between NPCs.
yeah,
And you could really test the waters that way. You could say, hey, you're going to have these relationships, that you're going to have older relationships, younger relationships, flirtatious relationships, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you can ask your players directly, how do you feel about relationships like that in the game? And if they're I could do without it, then not even to have that that conversation with them. You're no, hey, they're good. They don't want that. But I think it's if you're afraid of outwardly having those conversations, I think that's a nice way to dip your toe in without making it awkward for yourself if you are sensitive to having those conversations.
I also think this is a great future, just full LMA conversation.
Well, actually,
Yes.
they're like four.
Session 0.
They're like four. Well, we've done session 0 ones before too, but I think this specific topic is a great one. The topic that Meg brought up earlier, the sort of the therapeutic angle of, I think that's a whole. We could do a whole other subject just on that.
Big cam in there.
I love that time, but
I'll be there.
Awesome. But I'm clearly hearing from my players that romance is a big thumbs up. I did see in the chat though it was suggested romantic death. I just can't shake this label as a DM, I guess. At least until John kills the party. Yeah.
I had a character in the first campaign that we ever finished. My character at the very end ended up having to sacrifice herself and die. Which it be like that sometimes in martyr stories, but the romance that had been blooming for the past 2.5 years between my character and one of the other PC's characters, it was a tragic end. But gosh, does it make for a great story?
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
So now here's, I think the session 0 piece, and I think that's a great topic. And even when you guys did the one shot with me, Ashlyn, you noted I had a sort of a here's stuff that's coming. There are going to be some dark themes in this one shot. Give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're okay with this. If you think of, for example, in the upcoming Dark Sun game, there are certain thematic elements in that which even have WotC concerned to reprint Ever Athos or Dark Sun, because you have historical tropes that are in there, including there is slavery that exists in the world of Dark Sun. To me, as a DM, then the burden that you have as a storyteller is properly portraying the evil of these things. So you talked earlier about your character was sold the soul to the child sacrificing demon or whatever. We have all of these evil things in D&D. To me, that is another example of evil incarnate. And so, as a DM, if you're a responsible storyteller, you're taking that in a way that you're telling stories about triumph, about conquering, about overcoming, and portraying that as evil. That is your responsibility at your table as a DM. When it comes to these topics of session zeros, though, I think it's really also important to recognize the difference between a campaign and a one-shot. And I am pretty much, I've said this before, and I'm making it a thing here at Blue Box Con. Romance and one-shot, no. I don't. There's no need for it. It can be if it's between two obvious, like what Ashlyn and John did.
Oh, it was beautiful.
That was perfect. That was perfect, right?
So good.
But the chance that you're going to upset or offend someone in a one shot is much higher than you're actually going to tell a meaningful romantic story in a one shot, right? So you're probably just better off stay. So that's for at Blue Box Con. One shots. Clearly, you can have NPCs that are in some sort of romantic. That you can have married. You can have married couples. I'm not saying that you pretend it's an antiseptic world, right? But be very careful. Don't have things where you're pushing characters to engage in romance in a 3-hour one shot that is probably going to make somebody uncomfortable.
Well, and I'm seeing some people in chat who are like, not my vibe. Like, fully, and you're right as a DM to feel that way. Like, ain't no shame in that. It's good. And also, it could be not good. It depends on your vibe. There's nothing wrong with it either way.
Exactly.
It's very much, you got to get consent one way or the other. And if they say that they're not comfortable, that's the end. Like, it's not you do not get to try and convince them to do it.
Yeah. And your consent as a DM matters too. Of like, if you don't feel comfortable with that at your table,
Exactly.
encourage your players to start their own offshoot game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pursue that.
Here's
And
a
it
thought,
also
though.
can be rescinded at any point.
Yes.
What if characters? I'm watching the chat and a lot of are like, nope, like not gonna happen. And I on the subreddit like D&D, I've seen this question before, and it's very interesting because it's like as a DM, I had one of my players engage with another player in a flirtatious way, and my other player was like, "What are you doing?" And it's interesting because it's like, you're right, because as a DM, you have to kind of get a feel in session 0 for where people are at and probably check in more than once as this campaign is getting longer and longer. Because if all of a sudden you have a player that's like, I roll to engage with my player over here, And then that player is like, what are you doing? Like, I don't want that kind of relationship with your character. And if they start maybe even getting a little bit like, no, I'm just going to do it anyways. What do you do as a DM? You're like, no. Like, you got to fix that. And you got to like really establish that, I think, earlier on for sure.
Sorry, Hatcher's comment.
Yep. Yeah.
So Chris Brungal, he said, I'm 50 years old. It's getting creepy if I flirt. I'm gonna challenge that a bit. It's all how you do it. If anybody has seen Ed Greenwood on Jay streams, Ed's like 70. And he's ribald and he probably says the wrong thing half the time, but he is clever and funny and charming and harmless. I mean, you can see in what he is. So people can get a vibe. And if you're doing it for a story and you're telling a story together with your players, honestly, for me, I would be crushed if I ever had a player at my table say, I'm not comfortable with something that just happened, because I really feel like my job as a DM is to be so attentive and watching body language and knowing my players that I should see that long before they have to tell me that something has made them uncomfortable. Now, if I don't know you have a phobia, Amanda, then maybe I'm going to miss that one. But like after Sunday, Cameron, I hope you don't mind me sharing. Like I reached out to you like twice. I didn't just reach out to you. I reached out to Rachel. I wanted to make sure everybody at the table understood the context of what happened that day and the story, and that everyone, and you told me you were good with it. I don't know what you said about it behind my back, but
Still am. Absolutely good.
But as a DM,
Coming for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I really do think you should watch your players. You should read their body language. You should most of the time know before they need to tell you that they're uncomfortable. And I've heard of situations where a player had to tell a DM not once, not twice, like 3 times, I don't want to do that. I don't want that. I don't want to do that. You never want to put your player in a position like that.
And I would like to say it has nothing to do with age and everything to do with consent and intention. If you are flirting with a PC because you're trying to get with the player, that is not acceptable. It has nothing to do with your age. If you were a 25-year-old non-consensually trying to flirt with another 25-year-old's character, that because you want to like have some sort of out-of-game relation with that player, that is not acceptable.
Or you're using it as like a
capacity.
surrogate for it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've read some horror stories of that.
You can tell when it's like, this is not you playing the game, this is you trying to be sneaky.
It's like
But
manipulation.
it doesn't matter.
It's like manipulating. Ugh.
But it doesn't matter if you're 50. If you have consent from another player or from a DM to do any sort of romantic involvement, then go for it. You're playing a character. If you are your character and your character isn't 50, and even if you are 50, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's very much the bottom line, ask.
Yes.
Yes.
Just ask.
For anything you're uncertain of. It's okay to ask for anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well said.
Ask and respect the
Communication
answer.
is so important.
Well said. So in the chat, we had we had a question. Yeah. So Tom, Twitchy DM, said, "What recommendation can you share to help me with? I'm a male. Evoke more sensitivity and emotional role play for my table of 7 male players." Call Drake suggested bringing cut onions. And honestly, I think it's a good question for you guys, but it's probably a question I can help you answer as well, Tom. But what thoughts for Tom here? He's asking. I met Tom on Zoom a couple of weeks ago. Good guy. Been playing for a long time. He's got a table of 7 guys. He wants to create a more openly emotional role-playing table. What suggestions would you have?
Cameron.
I have one from a therapeutic background. A great way to get people to talk a little bit more about their emotions is to reflect back to them what just happened. So if you're somebody's DM, and let's say I don't know, one of the PC's like family was killed by goblins, and now this goblin horde is coming in, closing in on your party as they're camping at night. This thing that was supposed to be a safe moment for them as they're resting all of a sudden turned terrifying. You as a DM can paint a little bit of that drama. Say, you know, your mind begins to rush back to a very familiar setting. Like, similar to the way that, like, a romantic scene would have candles, chocolates, and flowers. An emotional scene would have that same sort of lighting. Sorry, there's a very loud siren going past my home right now.
Yep.
These things happen. But, like, paint that picture and evoke from them. Put it in their court of, like, here's what's happening around you in the reality. You gave me a backstory. Things from that are coming back in now. Where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What thought races across your mind as the first arrow strikes in the middle of your camp? Like, you as the DM get to heighten that and pull in all those things. I think it's really, really thrilling to get to do that. So evoke and reflect back. Those are always great ways to
Beautiful
get those
advice.
emotions going.
And also starting with kind of lower risk situations, especially if you have players who are really resistant to it, who are a little nervous about putting themselves out a lot for whatever reason. Start with something a little less risky, something that is a bit more lighthearted. Don't go super dark and heavy right away.
Yeah.
Don't start with the murder.
Yeah. Also, be open emotionally outside of game. The best way to build that vulnerability in game is to have the other male players know that you can be trusted with their sensitive sides, and that anything that they're going through in their life, you will support their feelings on that. And that will translate into the game to let them know that it's safe to express the sides of them that society has told them are feminine and not acceptable for men.
I think that's a really good point, Meg. I think I will also maybe be the one time I'll push back a little bit on one of these topics, but I'll only do it because we're talking about men here, so I think I have a little bit of purview. I think you're dead on, but I also know the way most men are conditioned, they may be less comfortable engaging with that emotional vulnerability outside of the game, whereas they may view the game as a place in which to do that, and they may feel very awkward if you're doing it outside the game, you know, watching a football game together, and all of a sudden you're sharing a tender emotional moment. I'm being a bit, again, tongue in cheek, right? But I do think you're right in what you're saying. What I found as a DM is that people in general, irrespective of background, irrespective of gender, irrespective of race, they will tend to mirror what they see and what they're being made comfortable with. So, Tom, my thing to you as a DM, if you want them to be emotionally vulnerable and connected, you need to model that for them as a DM. If I have not been with any group of players that if I put myself out and make myself look silly, if I put my dumb glasses on for Randall and make a fool out of myself, it becomes very safe for the players at that table to similarly do that. If my players see a tear falling down my face and I'm getting emotional about something, whether that's 750-year-old men, I have just made myself very vulnerable in front of them. I have now created a space in which, and as you guys said, probably baby steps. They're probably not going to do their emotional magnum opus right there before me at the table, but they will kind of start steering that way in a way that maybe they might not be comfortable with outside. But you know, what happens at the table stays at the table, kind of a vibe. Thoughts?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think my meaning was just like, don't like try to force them to be open, but just make sure that like you're displaying a level of kind of like you're not insulting them when they talk about something they're upset about, that kind of thing. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Create a comfortable environment
Yeah.
that they can share if they feel
If they choose,
want
yeah.
to. Yes.
Right. Well said. So I wanted to have any of you ever played a Victorian style character? I think you guys were talking about that a little bit earlier with the one DM that you've seen. Comments on that?
I have a backup character who might be something akin to that.
Okay.
But hopefully I won't have to. There was also, I just lost it. Where'd it go? There was
Dark
another
Elf.
question About
Dark Elf.
Yeah, so let me read that one. I saw that earlier. I meant to come back to
I'm
that.
excited about that question.
So how do you feel about someone who's not a woman playing a female character? And that could include any, cis man or trans or non-bi, whatever, like just they're not a biological, born female playing a female character. To me, it's an interesting question. I mean, females do it all the time with male characters. Your thoughts?
What about
My thought is if you're doing it with respect,
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Go for it.
There was a player in a campaign with Issa, and he plays a female character. She's lesbian, but it's not like a fetishized, heightened version of a lesbian woman. It's just a woman who likes women. And I think handling it and treating the female character as a human and not as some object to fulfill a fantasy is the thing.
Yeah, that would be kind of ground level, right? I don't play a woman so that I can salaciously, flaunt. Yeah, get that.
Yeah.
And I've been at a table where that has happened, and it was so uncomfortable. I'm like, especially like that person was trying to like romance my character, and I was like, this sucks. So, like, as a person who is a queer woman, this is not how women interact with each other outside of certain forms of media, which we won't talk about here.
But Cameron, what are you talking about?
I don't know. Could be anything. But like, I think the really cool thing about that is you get the opportunity to poll the crowd. Go, if you want to play as a woman and you're male or anything across the gender spectrum, go talk to people who are that. Go find strong women in your life who you're like, man, I think you're so dope. Tell me more about you. Like this can be such a great way to like get to know people in your life better. If there's like a historical female figure that you're like, man, I want to play a gunslinger who's like Annie Oakley. Go do research about Annie Oakley. That's awesome. Go entrench yourself in the world that is unfamiliar to you. Isn't that what D&D is all about? Within respect, of course. Like, if there's something where you're like, oh man, like, for me, I think there's a D&D player who makes the rounds, and she talks about how like, as a woman, I always want to play a woman because if I do something cool, I want the credit for it. Like, valid. But like, within your depth, within your respectability, always be respectful in your portrayals of things that you might not be. But again, it gives you an awesome opportunity to learn, and big fan of learning over here. Crazy about stuff.
One of the best way to get into someone else's shoes.
Yes.
Do it literally. As long as you're doing it with fidelity and with intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to bring up previously was the fact, like, one of the reasons why I love D&D so much is that you can become anything that you want, and that involves being able to explore gender, because that's not something that we're able to do very often in real life without consequences. Like, I've played a male D&D character, I played a non-binary D&D character, I played a gender fluid D&D character, and obviously all with respect. And it's a blast to be able to do what you're normally not able to do, I suppose, if that makes sense. I kind of lost my words at the end.
No, I think it all makes very good sense. And we're gonna get ready to do a couple of giveaways here, and I really want to ask some of the questions about your own things you love, cosplay. I want to talk about cosplay a little bit. I want to talk about mini painting and terrain, and kind of conclude with some of those topics. But, I think it's important. Look, ultimately, it's game style that you like. For example, my friend Tim, the ever mysterious Tim, I haven't seen him a lot in the chat tonight, but I'm not surprised. He's probably busy, but he's a great guy, and his gaming style is very different. If you watch Jay play. Jay has a very diverse table, but the style that he plays is it's going to be very much the tactical style, wargaming style of D&D. And if that's what there's nothing wrong with that. People that want to play Warhammer and 40K and whatever your table is and whatever you want to play, and that goes for players and DMs. I am big on. It's not just that players can choose the tables they want to play at. DMs can choose the players they want to play with. And you find the game and the style that works for you. I happen to like the emotional content of role play. I like the storytelling elements of role play. That's what connects with me the most in terms of the game. Even the combat is often a means to that end in the game. But if that's not what you want and you want to do, tactical wargaming, more power to you as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, all right. So, is there an odd feeling from a man at the table when a female player plays a male character, or is it just odd when a man plays male characters? I think the answer, Scrat, was already said. It's all how you do it. Ultimately, I don't think I've ever played a female D&D character, and it's not that I would have a problem with it. I just have never really had I've done tons of NPCs, of course. My most common, like the furthest I go, I love to play dwarves. That's my favorite kind of character to play. As I mentioned, I am in height, nothing close to that, and I could not grow a beard to save my life. But that's as far as
fantasy.
Yeah, it's my fantasy is a huge, full, glorious beard like Keith, and I can't do it, so I role play dwarves. All right, so as we get ready to do our first giveaway here, which is the Treasures of Greyhawk. I'm going to ask the question. And as I ask the question this time, you'll all watch, and then I'm going to pick one of you to ask the question when we conclude the stream tonight. And you've seen it before. The question goes something like this. If you're watching tonight and you haven't followed, or if you're a follower and you haven't subbed, and by the way, on Amazon Prime, it's free. You can just use my Amazon Prime free sub. Or if you're a sub whose sub has expired. Sacre bleu! We have one question for you here tonight. What are you doing? Come on, give us a follow. Give us a sub. Type hashtag BlueBoxRPG in the chat, and we'll do our first giveaway for the Treasures of Greyhawk. Where did I put that thing? Thank you very much, Kai. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? So this guy is going to be the giveaway. We'll do that in about 10 seconds. And while we're getting ready for that, I'll prepare you with the next question. I'm going to take this over to you, Courtney, and you, Manda, as our resident mini painting experts. I'd like you to talk about, hey, thank you very much for following us, called Drake. I didn't realize you hadn't. You've had some great comments tonight in the chat. Thank you, Dirty Dwarf. You love the channel. Keep up we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. So the question will be to the two of you, what do you love about mini painting? How did you get into it? And maybe, Courtney, you could talk about the story that you shared with us in the LMA in terms of how you've seen the examples of women painters that are out there to emulate and follow have really grown since you first got started. So hashtag BlueBoxRPG, and for this one I'll just roll it one time and then we'll get ready for the grand prize giveaway tonight. Where is that right view? This one. All right, you guys can watch on. You can see the actual giveaway if you haven't seen how this works before. We're using the Nightbot here. There's several of you in the chat. We're going to roll it. Keith, Roger, you are the winner. Congratulations, my friend. And so now we're going to kick that off again. And this will be for the Extreme DM Guide. And again, you're just going to type hashtag BlueBox. Thank you for the sub. We appreciate that call. Hashtag BlueBoxRPG in the chat. These ladies will be rolling for you here in just a few moments at the end of our stream tonight. And that gets you in the giveaway for this incredible Extreme DM hardback guide. This is from Tracy and Curtis Hickman. It's got full color portions and inserts in it, all kinds of content. really nice cover, well done, kind of holographic. I can't really see it there, but this is a really nice piece, and this will be our giveaway tonight. And saying thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you. We appreciate that, Chip. All the support is appreciated, and it all goes to helping us tell more great stories here on Blue Box. All right, Courtney, Amanda, talk to us about mini painting.
Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you for the hype train, everybody.
Well, I got into it because of Mike, my husband. He was like, "Here, I want to share this with you." I was like, "Okay, cool. I like doing crafts." And I started painting something, and I was like, "Okay, I want to learn more." So he taught me more techniques. And then I got to a point where I asked him a question, and he was like, I don't know. Go find the information."
Oh.
So I did. So I like that it's just another outlet that I get to be creative in, because that's just. But my creativity has ADD. That's why I have so many different projects.
That's what we love about you, Amanda.
So, Amanda, I've got your Instagram up here, and
Oh no.
just look. I mean, also she does the knitting. I've got
Crochet.
crocheting. I've got the dinosaurs. We've got Finley. Finley is crocheted. She does the toques for us, the hats. She crochets those.
Oh, those are
I have
knit.
mine around here.
Those are knit. Okay, come on. I can't. She does things. She does cool things I can't do. But she also takes commissions for painting, and look at these glorious paints. Super.
Coloring technique
Beautiful.
is insane.
I know.
Right?
I know. Oh.
Oh my god.
How cute! So you could thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Paxi Siki, if I said that right. Appreciate the bits. And thank you again, everyone, for the hype train. But you can find her mystical_unicorn_painting on Instagram. And she does do commission work, although she's often very busy and very full. And she's about to be doing some cool Dark Sun stuff for me for book 3. But yeah, I mean, Amanda, you're fantastic.
Absolutely incredible.
There's a mimic there. If you scroll back up just for a second.
Oh, yes.
It's actually a dice box. It opens up and you can
Oh
roll
my
into
Oh my god.
That's so
That's
good.
so cute.
Yeah,
The
that
little
was.
D20 in its mouth too.
And then
Oh, it's darling.
I don't know how far down it is on my page, but there's also a fairy I painted for my mother-in-law.
You make
Aw.
ears too?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Yes.
They're so good.
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
I made some Blue Box ones for Blue Box Con for a couple people last year.
Oh,
They were
God,
really
look at this
good.
guy. This
Oh
is
my God.
epic looking.
Wow.
And she plays Warhammer, right? So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, this guy. She gave me this guy. I have this guy. He is awesome. He's sitting right here.
So cool.
So
It's got some new fun effects too for ice, where it's gonna like spread when you put it till they look like icicles and stuff.
Cool.
I'm really excited.
That's so sick.
NPL, I cannot learn crochet and knitting at this stage. I have too many other hobbies. I have too much.
Totally can.
I have too much plastic potential sitting around here that I need to paint alone.
True. That's true.
So Courtney, we'll go to your side as well. Same question for you. What do you love about painting? And talk to us about the growth of women painters that you've seen since you started.
Oh, it's been actually quite incredible. When I started, there was no women were showing their faces online. It was very difficult to find women painters, but I started an Instagram account because I was kind of in the same. I wanted to learn more technique and things like that. So I popped on and I started learning from those around me, watching YouTube tutorials and different things like that. But as time has gone on, I've been so fortunate as to watch the increase of women in gaming and in Warhammer,
Wow.
in Dungeons and Dragons and painting. It's actually been really incredible. And to be a part of that community over time has actually been really, really cool for me.
Yeah.
And I love miniature painting because I've always been creative. I've always, dabbled in pottery, I've dabbled in watercolor, and I've dabbled in this, that, and the other thing. But actually, miniature painting is what I've stuck with the longest. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good. And I'm really happy with what I've been able to put out as a demonstration of who I am. I work in a very interesting set of colors and my comfort colors that I like to call them, and miniature painting became just a very safe space for me to express myself and be a part of a community, and especially during COVID, you know, we had that, and then I got to teach at cons, I got to teach all over my city, and so I got to just experience people and bring them into this hobby as well. So that was my huge stick is, you know, hobby at any budget, we're gonna make it work. Hobby because you want to, hobby because you need a brain break, hobby because you need to empty your head of all of other things. I love miniature painting because it allows me to do that and to share it with other people is my greatest joy. So I really like it.
So good, Courtney.
Yeah. Can we all agree she's pretty good?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I mean, not just at the art, but also the way you spoke about it was
Yeah.
Everything, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. And, you know, it has been fascinating. I of all the different fields that I would have thought would have been the least likely to face some of the challenges that we have talked about tonight, I would have thought it would have been mini painting, but clearly not. And I've heard some of the stories even from Manda that it is, you know, the struggle is real there as well.
There's some spicy DMs.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Nova, which was a convention up in DC for miniature painting, and I entered my first competition, and I got a finalist pin and everything, and I was so proud of it. And I got told by people just like me walking down the alleyway holding my miniature, taking it away from the booth, that, you know, you should take classes from some of the big name guy painters because then maybe you would have won something. It's like, okay. Thanks. The only reason the only reason my mini did not get a bronze medal was because they said it could have just used a little bit of a wash, which I was trying not to do because I was trying to learn to shade without using washes to use the colors. So I took a chance, but I learned from it. But it was those comments. It was like,
the critique without asking for the critique.
You hit a nerve there, Amanda, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Same thing for you, Meg. Cosplay. Like I was talking about it earlier. Some of your expressions, just absolutely incredible work with your cosplay. Let me see if I can find one here that's a video. I think that's.
I think there's like a separate section, for reels up at the top.
There we go.
Yeah, and those are all my videos.
There we go.
Oh, you're keyless.
She's like the favorite.
Here. All these people who lived in terror of you and your judgment. All these people whose ancestors devoted themselves, sacrificed themselves to you. Can you hear them singing? Oh, you like to think you're a god? You're not a god. You're just a parasite eaten out with jealousy and envy and longing for the lives of others. You feed on them, on the memory of love and loss and birth and death and joy and sorrow. So, come on then, take mine. Take my memories.
Woo! Chills! Goosebumps! Wow! You said you can't DM? Are you freaking kidding me?
It's the controlling the chaos that makes the DMing very difficult.
It might have been the players. It might have just been the players.
No, they're my best friends. They just
that might be the
That might be it.
I think I was really happy they felt comfortable enough to kind of do their own thing and create their own path through the story. It was just, I think it was difficult because it was a one shot, so it was kind of like a
sure.
we got things we gotta do. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So good, Meg.
So good.
So good.
So I mean, just like really breathtakingly good.
And not even just the acting, the cosplay as well is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, her cosplay is ridiculous. Meg, we didn't really come to this, but I mentioned earlier the cosplay being such an obvious target for some of the behaviors that we've talked about tonight. I know you had posted that video I mentioned earlier, and then you even referenced earlier on that you've taken a bit of a break, focusing on some of your own, mental health. Are those things related? And maybe you can share, to whatever degree you'd be comfortable with, what that journey's been like for you, and what kind of impact it has on you. These are not just comments that are made; they have an impact on people.
Yeah, so I have had, luckily, I also kind of keep to my own little corner. My followers know that at this point, I have a one-strike policy. It doesn't matter if you're a follower or a new person. If you make any kind of sexual comment towards me, you're blocked. I personally don't have the patience or mental capacity to deal with that kind of stuff. And of course, every content creator is different. There are plenty of female cosplayers who are completely fine with comments like that and who encourage them. But the challenge is when people, especially men, assume that every female cosplayer has the same consents to the same kind of engagement.
Yeah.
And oh no, I'm losing my track of mind.
Oh, you got it.
That.
There was one conversation that I think is the one you're referencing, where this was kind of in the height of my jester heyday, which is not an inherently sexual cosplay, I would say. But I got this comment from someone saying something like, "Please tell me you keep the cosplay on afterwards for post-filming fun with your partner." And I was like, and so I made a video and I was like, this is not acceptable to say to somebody. That is vile. You don't know me. You don't know like my relationships. Like you don't know anything about that. And so immediately it was the backtracking, like, oh, that's not how I meant it. That's not how I meant it. And for about a week, I think I left their comment up because I want to believe that, and I do to an extent believe that some people just don't know what they're doing. But then I was like, no, even if they didn't, it made me uncomfortable, and I don't feel safe having this person see my content anymore. And then there are plenty of people saying, that's hot, you're sexy, DMs. And so, and I personally, I think it's different for me, when men make those comments, because generally, as a woman, you understand from a very young age that you are seen as an object by men. And this is not all men, I know that, and I know all of us here know that, but enough men that there's just no way to tell. And so I think it's different to get those comments from men because you are an object, you are their fantasy, they want something from you. If a woman or even a non-binary person, trans person, just anyone that isn't specifically coming from the mindset of a born and raised male, you know that they see you as a human first.
Right.
And so those comments don't hit as hard, if at all, because you know that maybe they're complimenting your appearance, but they're not objectifying you. And so that was one of the reasons that I stepped away, because I personally don't do very sexual content. I've done like a couple thirst traps, but it's just not for me personally. And I don't like, I didn't like knowing that I was viewed sexually. The majority of my audience is male. And I don't think I'm necessarily opposed to being viewed as sexual, because it's whatever. But I think when people's intentions are consistently made known, that you will always be some fetish for them, it gets very difficult to see yourself as a human. and see your content as worthy if you're not putting on a show for them. And so that really got into my psyche of like, am I beautiful enough? Is my body good enough to be objectified so that I can get the views? And that's a very harmful mindset to try to be sexy enough for people who don't even see you as a human. And so I think stepping back was really good to kind of resettle myself and to build up that boundary again internally and my self-worth and how it's not dependent on anything that, whether it's the comments, whether it's the followers or views. I'm not my platform. I am someone who likes to dress up, you know?
Yeah. Good for you, Meg. Good for you.
So good.
And I remember when you put that video out, if I recall correctly, you'd kind of stripped off all the make-off, stripped off all the cosplay, and it was very much a sort of a provocation, a poke in the eye of, you're objectifying me, the makeup, the cosplay, this is what I do, this is not who I am. And I thought it was very vulnerable of you to do, and bravo.
And there are ways, I will say to anybody watching, there are ways to compliment someone in their cosplay. You can say that is a beautiful cosplay. If there's someone who is doing sexual content, like on OnlyFans or something, there are ways to compliment them and what they're creating without objectifying them. And if you're uncertain, because there are so many nuances to it, if you're uncertain, go to women that you know. Go to women who are more open about their sexuality. Go to women who are more closed off and private about that, and ask them what kind of comments they're comfortable receiving, or ask the content creators themselves. Many of us are willing to help educate, and that's not to say everybody is willing to take on that kind of burden, but if you're not certain, just say, hey, is this a compliment that you're open to receiving? And if they say no, respect that. Find someone who is more open to that, or just find a new way to compliment them.
Yeah, well said. And I would say err on the side of caution. Right?
If you would not say it to like your boss, maybe don't say it to a stranger on the internet.
Yeah. Probably a good idea.
Or to their face. Like, if you wouldn't say it to their face, maybe don't say it.
Also, if you're like worried about a comment being potentially too sexualizing, if you wouldn't say it to your mom, maybe don't say it.
Right.
Or your sister.
Well, I mean, Rachel and Cameron, you guys have both come over, and your cosplay, and I think every time my comment is, your cosplay looks amazing. You guys look fantastic, right? I mean, that's what I think is appropriate in that context. Yeah.
It's simple and it's normal to say.
The art. Start with the compliment being about the art, not about the person in the art, the art itself.
Yeah. So we're over time. Do you ladies have just a few more minutes? If anyone has to drop, I don't want to keep you, but I'd like to wrap up here, let's say by 13 minutes or so. Would that be all right? Okay. Yes. Okay. So hashtag BlueBoxRPG. We're going to do our giveaways here in just a couple minutes, but I want to come to a couple of other of our creators here and talk about their craft as well. Let's go to you, Ashlyn. You are the Dollar Store DM. We had you on not long ago. We've talked about your crafting stuff, so people can find. By the way, if I didn't say it earlier, so Biscotti Hottie Cosplay is where you could find Meg, both on Instagram and on Twitch. And she is going to be, it sounds like, posting more content more regularly as she gets back into it. And Meg, you have a lot of fans, and we're all supportive of it.
I don't really do Twitch. I just do.
Did I say Twitch? I meant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have TikTok.
I meant TikTok. I meant TikTok.
Yes. The other T.
Yeah, the other T. So TikTok and Instagram, not Twitch. The only place you'll find her here on Twitch is, I think, here. So Dollar Store DM, she has a website. It is dollarstoredm.weebly.com. And you can check out her stuff. And she's got crafting tutorials. She has confessed that she's not kept this terribly updated, but there's still...
I'm trying. I'm ADHD, and
Yes.
it's very much what's in front of my brain.
No worries. Hey, there's no shame. There's only potential, right, Manda?
There is. I have potential.
And you can find her at $store_DM on Instagram as well. So her website and her Instagram, she posts all of her builds. She does budget build battles regularly. Mage Brush, a friend of hers, joins her often for that. And you actually DM with, you play a game with Mage Brush as well, right?
Yes, I do. So he's one of my players in like home game. But he is running the he's the alternate DM. So he just started his own campaign that is Victorian.
That's awesome.
I love my PC for that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's downstairs.
That's
from where
you know
I
what I
am.
really like about this build? What I really like about this build is the space. You know,
I did not build this.
Yeah, I know. I saw you posted that. I'm complimenting him, but the space that he's yeah, he's got a lot of room there for the minis and for the movement of the characters and whatnot. But I loved what you created here. I thought this was such a cool little piece. And this was on your third budget build battle.
Yeah, that one was with Joe of Encounter Terrain. That was super fun. I tried to do some so I work with resin. I make dice. But I was like, I'm going to use the dollar store resin. It didn't work. It was a disaster. So the goop, the liquid is just clear nail polish that I dumped all over it.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
That's innovation.
That's exactly.
I
Life
had
hack.
15 minutes left in the build and panicked.
And
And I happened to have 2 bottles of clear nail polish within arm's reach.
And you're doing custom dice for the book 3 characters, right?
I am.
Let's go.
I'm very excited. I need to make more dice. I've been really bad about making dice, so if you started following me for dice making content, it's coming back. But yeah, I make. Come on.
It's not cooperating. There. Oh, look at that.
That's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
That's a big boy.
That is a big boy. Very nice.
So I make all of the dice in front of me.
Oh, wow.
Smaller ones that I've made.
Those are gorgeous.
Super fun. I love making character sets. Character sets are the best dice because they're special.
Yeah.
And I think I found this is the video I was talking about, isn't it?
Probably.
You explain rusting
unless-
bitch face to a robot.
See, her neutral face looks pissed.
No, that's not the one. It's the
No,
same outfit.
It's further down.
This one.
No.
No,
Armor or
not that one. Oh, here it is. It's this one. It's this one.
Turns out we always understand how to slap someone down with our underhand. So here's my right finger. It's how girls should behave. 'Cause sometimes what's meant to break you makes you brave.
Takes of that with my head just kind of in shot. It was definitely inspired by. I am a musical theater nerd. That is from Mean Girls the musical.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Very funny. And actually, we are super looking forward to having you on book 3. You and Manda, the characters that you have connected together. It is the
Connected?
yeah, the story. Oh,
I'm so excited.
the story is so good. The story is so good.
You called out for a moment people being shoved into the healer role. I am a self-professed. I am a cleric main.
Me too.
Unless I'm playing a ranger, I will either shoot you or I will heal you. There is no in between.
And see, this is again like the tropes, right? I've never played a cleric. I've played the game for 40 years. I've never. So I think
We gotta get you to play like a female dwarf player.
yeah, the dwarf would make it too easy. I'd like to play like a female elven cleric or something. Yeah, maybe that'll. It doesn't count if it's an NPC though, right? It's got to be a character.
It has to be a character.
Okay, so
Gotta have a whole backstory.
I love clerics so much because clerics are super versatile.
Yes.
I'm
why I
playing a
always
very
pick
healer
paladins.
now. Book 3, I'm going to be a very heal bot cleric. That's.
oh yeah, but
for
you've
purpose.
designed her so well though. It's a fun build. It really is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna roll for the giveaways here. We're gonna roll 6 times. So when you see your name in the chat, it does not mean no. I've never played a cleric, Tom. It's true. It is not like I ever set out not to play one. It's just every time I think I've played every other class. I've even played druid. I've just never played a cleric. All right. So here we go. The first entrant into the giveaway. Thank you, Katie. Good to see you, sweet KT. You're going to be here at Blue Box Con, right? I've got your ticket set aside. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we had to cut it off. We filled up with 50 people. It's at my house, and I don't want it to be overcrowded. And then we talked about doing it bigger, in future years, but I think that's not the route I think I'm going to go. I think I'm probably going to keep it in the way it's structured and just make it increasingly sort of a very invitational private gathering every year for people that want to come and have that experience rather than try to grow it to something bigger and have it lose the experience. Okay, so Courtney, you have Wandering Endlessly. Wandering has been super active in the chat. Oh, no worries, Greg. Thank you for that. And anyone that hasn't entered yet, go ahead and hashtag BlueBoxRPG in the chat, and I'll roll for someone else here in a second. Let me go back to Rachel and Cameron. You guys don't really have stuff that you're, promoting or content that you're promoting, but I do have a question for you tonight, which is, who is the greatest DM that you've ever played for and why? No, I'm not opening myself up to that. Don't answer that question. That's a no-win situation, right? Because if you there is no way that works out well for me, no matter what you say. So that was a joke question.
I did want to say off of that though, because I did see that, and I was like, man, what to me makes a DM super memorable and one that I really cherish. And both DMs that I've had, really all three, I guess, have always encouraged me to do like my own DMing, and have made me brave in that. I would not feel confident DMing if it wouldn't have been for the DMs that I've had. So hey, you out there in chat, if you have women at your table, please encourage them to DM. Please. It has been so special for me to get to do that. It's tapped into like a creative energy I didn't know that I had. Encourage, women, one, to come to your table in the first place. Sorry, there's a dog who's excited in the background. But encourage them to DM too. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, well said. And Cameron, we are so excited to have you DMing at Blue Box Con. And, you can tell when people are, I find in general, when people are really good role players, they're going to be really good DMs. The housekeeping, the statistics, I know, Meg, like it can be wrangling cats, like you said, but that stuff, you can absolutely, that will blend to the background of just good role play and good character play. That's to me what makes great DMing. And I know Cameron is amazing, Rachel, and I can see like Amanda is just chomping at the bit and cannot wait for her chance to DM. No, Amanda. No.
I'd play at your table, Amanda.
We would all play at Amanda's.
We would all play at Amanda's table.
Definitely, 100%.
It would be chaos. Absolute chaos.
Bring out the gay. Let's do Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so the next person we'll be rolling for is Ranger Harley.
For the first person.
So I gave Courtney the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then Meg has Ranger Harley. So Wandering Endlessly is for Courtney. You got to remember who you're rolling for. And
I have it written down.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and then
Can't stop nodding.
Ranger Harley.
That's the stuff for Ranger Harley.
All right, as we get ready to roll the third one, and yes, it's still hashtag BlueBoxRPG in the chat for the Extreme Dungeon Master Guide, and we're going to be done here in just a couple of moments. But Rachel, anything else that you wanted to say? We didn't really get a chance for you to kind of have any finishing thoughts.
Oh man, I've been very lucky to have very talented and supportive and welcoming DMs in the games that I've been a part of, and I think that's really how I've been able to fall so madly in love with this game. Yeah, just being supportive of your players and their decisions and how they want to play their characters and how they interact with the world, and not shooting down their ideas and just allowing them to cultivate and grow in what you've laid out for them to play in. And I think that, John, you do a great job at doing that.
No.
I'm absolutely adoring these games. Oh no, Meg!
What happened to Meg?
She's back.
Overstate enough how being a part of this stream is just like a dream come true. Everyone that I've met is so absolutely incredibly supportive and welcoming and warm, and I love you guys.
We love you too, Rachel.
I remember back to like my mom telling me when I first got access to our family computer of like, don't make friends with people on the internet. And then I was like, I'm gonna do what I want, Mom.
And then you immediately went to the Neopets chat.
Yes.
True story. But then it's continued and it's only gotten better with time.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. 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 All right. So you will have Toriano, BPG Gaming, Cameron.
Nice.
And Manda, you're going to have Thomas, Celtic Boar. Thomas, are you still in? Let us know you're in the chat. And as we get ready to roll the last two here, Cameron, you're going to be, Rachel, you're going to be up next. I've heard several ideas here. We've talked about, role play as therapy. We've talked about, role playing types, including, gender-based role play. We've talked about romance in game. It sounds like the chat has loved you. Is it something you think maybe a couple of times a year this group would be willing to get back together and have another conversation on one of these topics?
I think these ladies are pretty awesome. I'd be honored to do it again.
I'd be. I would be honored to have you all back. So we'll figure something out that works with everybody's schedule. Give you plenty of advance notice, like we did this one, and we'll pick a topic and we'll chop it up with this group. And I think eventually, what we really need is also to figure out a one shot that we can run with this group and have one of you DM it. I'll play a female cleric in it, and.
This is such a good group.
Oh my gosh, that'd be incredible.
That would be a blast. Okay, so now Rachel, you have Paxanesiki, and just followed us recently back in February, and then subbed also. So you're in the giveaway. And then the last one is for Ashlyn. You got sweet KT, Katie. Katie, did you answer my question earlier? I said, I've got your ticket. You are coming, right? Because I know we talked about that, and you were trying to make everything work. We're really looking forward to see female dwarf cleric. All right, let's go around. We're gonna roll. You're gonna roll 2 d20s. I think all of these folks were subs. Yay! Awesome, Katie. Can't wait to see you. Are you in my game? I think you're in my one shot. Yeah, I think I reserved a spot for you in my one shot. Didn't I, Amanda?
Yay.
I think so, yes.
I think so, yeah. All right. So you're up first, rolling for Wandering Endlessly.
Courtney, that's you.
Courtney.
No whammies.
Okay, I got a 9 and a 6.
A 6. Hey, you got a 9. That's going to be tough with 5 more rolls to go, Wandering. I got to be honest. All right.
Sorry, wandering endlessly.
You're going to be wandering for a while longer, it looks like.
Wandering a little while longer.
All right, Meg, you're up. You pulling out the best 2?
Yeah, I have like these 2 dice that I'm hoping won't fail Ranger Harley today.
All right, here we go.
I can't find the other one. Hold on.
Let's go, Hunter.
I have so many. I should have put them in my order.
Hey, chat, thank you so much, everybody in chat. You guys were awesome tonight. Great comments, great content, chatters. Thank you so much. The hype train, the support, the follows, especially during GaryCon. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on this week, and great job, guys. All right.
Trying to get the highest rolls. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have 11 and we have 1.
Ooh, 11. 11. That's the high water mark. All right, Cameron, tell us who you're rolling for.
I'm rolling for BPG Gaming. That first one was a 10.
All right, here we go, Toriano.
19.
Ooh! That one might stand. Thank you, Thomas. We appreciate the sub. Let's go to you, Manda.
So I got Celtic Boar. That is a 15 and a 20.
Oh! And he just resubbed.
Incredible.
Thomas has been subbed now for 33 months. Thank you for that, Thomas. We appreciate that. And you got the nat 20. Now, don't get it twisted, though. With 2 ladies left to roll and rolling 2 dice, that's 4 rolls. That's still a 20% chance. So let's go to you, Rachel. Who are you rolling for?
That's 20.
For who?
No way!
Paxani Seki.
All right, so Paxani Seki and Celtic Boar, we have a tie with the 2 nat 20s. We'll come back to that. Let's go to you.
One more nat 20.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're up, Ashlyn. Let's see what we got.
Sweet KT, let's see. I'm usually very lucky when I roll, so we'll see. 11.
No.
What? Is it? Oh, let's go! We have 3 nat 20s. Now, do any of you have the ability to like put your camera on your dice? That would be cool if we could all simultaneous. If you don't sweat it.
It's a mess, but
Not
please deal
really.
with me.
Don't sweat it if you can. All right, so we'll have Rachel's at least.
That's a 20.
Okay.
It's not really.
Oh, no, I wasn't asking you to prove this one. I was saying for the next roll. I'm not checking on you. All right, so ready? We're all going to roll together. We got Celtic Boar, Paxani Seki, and you had again who, Ashlyn? I'm sorry, I forgot. You
I had Sweet KT.
Oh, it's Katie's, right. Okay, so we're going to roll on 3. Ready? 1 die, just 1 die this time, not 2. High roll wins. 1, 2, 3.
That's messed up. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you got to re-roll that one. That look on Ashlyn's face, I think
That's a 9.
a 9. Ashlyn?
12.
12.
Oh.
15.
Let's go, Thomas. You got it, my man.
Nice.
Outstanding. I want to say on behalf of Blue Box, thank you to all of you very busy, very talented ladies for taking your time out to be with us. I think this was a fantastic conversation. I learned a lot from each of you, and I know the chat enjoyed you sharing your stories. And really, honestly, I felt like I could have gone, I have like hours more of topics that we could have covered here. This went by like a flash for me, 2.5 hour stream. I do look forward to having you back on at some point in the future to dive into a couple of these other topics. I think, you know, really, I don't know. I think this topic, the romance one, I think would be fantastic. I think there was a lot of interest in the chat, how to do it, ways to keep it appropriate, ways to prompt it, ways to control it. I think there's just so much about that. Examples, story-based examples. So let's think about that.
I can't wait to share.
I think we could do something really fun about that. And I think the community is in need of it. So let's talk about that, and we'll figure out a time. And then before I run the last roll and raid in, anybody have any final comments, thoughts, or anything any of you would like to share?
It was wonderful
to
meeting
everyone who's
all of
watching.
you.
Such a fun time.
Yeah.
Chat, thank you for listening. There's what, like 66 of y'all in here? Like
Yeah.
just
To
hanging
interact in
after
conversation.
2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Been great.
Incredible empathy. You can't expect anything less at Blue Box.
For real.
You guys are incredible chatters. You've made us feel super welcomed here, as you always do.
Thank you.
All
That's
right.
all I got.
And with that, anyone else before we get ready to raid? I don't want to cut anyone off, but I don't want you to
Guys,
feel
great.
awkward.
Have a good rest of your night.
Have a
Thanks
great
for being
night.
here. You're
All right.
fantastic.
Here we
Never
go.
forget it.
All right, so
Never forget.
thank you again. Join us on Sunday at 1 o'clock Central Time for Tears of Aird. And then we have Vivi's last Greyhawk Awakening book for 5.5 months. She won't be back until fall. That's going to be a tear-filled farewell to Vivi on Tuesday night. So lots of great content coming up. Again, thank you all. We're going to raid into Jay on behalf of Blue Box and the whole community. These amazing ladies, thank you. All the mad chatters, thank you. Oh, I forgot. Somebody has to ask the question. Let's see. Let's go to. I'm going to make Meg do it. No, Amanda, Meg, can you ask the question? Whatever version of it. So follow, sub, or sub expired. What are you doing?
What?
You scared her.
All right, I'll do it. You don't have to do it. I'll do it. I don't want to put you on the spot.
What's your favorite color? What are you doing?
Beautiful. I think we can leave it there.
Boom. That was it. We're done. That closed it. All right, we're rating now.
What are you doing?
Bye.
Bye,
How are you
everybody.
doing?
We love you.
Bye.
What are you doing?
Bye.
They always ask, what are you doing? Not.
How are you doing? And the raid is through.